everybody. I gotta follow my cheat sheet here.
Wow, that's big lettering right
That's
there.
because I'm an old man. All right, gonna open the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, March 6th, 2017. We're here at the Council on Aging building, where most of us probably qualify as members, with the exception of the young lady in the back row there.
That's you, yes.
And the young gentleman over there. All right, we have a number of things on the agenda.
Oh, I gotta open my meeting.
Go ahead, sir. Your Water Commission is opening his meeting.
Good evening, we have to open the meeting for the Freetown Water and Sewer Commissioner. The meeting is being recorded by Paul Sadek, and it's being videoed by, I don't know who,
Free camp.
Freecam, and attending are,
Brad Piper? Kevin Damaris.
Paul Sadek, I guess.
and Bob Parker. Meeting is now open.
All right, with that, we're going to say that I'm recording the meeting, Free Camp's recording the Selectmen's meeting. We have Selectman Bob Joes, Selectman Lisa Pacheco, myself, Jack Healy, who is the town administrator, and Ally Gall, who keeps us straight. And she's recording too. Ally's recording also. All right, now the first thing we'd like to do is stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you. Anybody here for public discussion that's not on the agenda? Nobody here, that's good. All right, the first thing is we're gonna have a meeting with the Freetown Water and Sewer Commission relative to a DEP review that was conducted about a month and a half ago. So with that, I will turn it over to the chairman of the Water Commission, Robert Parker.
Okay,
You also have another person from the Water Commission,
Oh.
Stephen Chandler.
Stephen Chandler appeared. And, okay. Well, about, as far as I know, before my time, about 10 years ago, the DEP required the town to put in a temporary filter site down on South Main Street. And they were supposed to have only been temporary. It's been 10 years. And we've been kind of sliding by with the DEP. You know, we've told them that, you know, things, how we've been doing things, and they've agreed with us so far. And they keep telling us we have to have the filter site undercover. We have to have it secure so nobody can get into it. And they've been letting us go along. And they did their survey, what, in November, I think?
December 15th.
December 15th. And they came back with the results. And now we're required, they're not gonna play ball with us anymore, they're requiring us to put all the filtration stuff in a building, a secured building. The water commissioners have been discussing this recently, and the water that goes through the filters now goes through a 4-inch line, which isn't really sufficient to do what we're gonna need to do. So we decided that when we have to do all this changing, we should upgrade to take care of any other businesses or houses or developments or whatever might come into the town. And we have Ryan with us tonight to kind of give you an idea of what this whole project is gonna cost. We're gonna have to replace all the filtration equipment. We're gonna have to put it in a building and make it secure. And that's we don't have much choice. If we don't do this, now they put us under, what is it, an order?
It's a notice of non-compliance.
A notice of non-compliance, so we have to do it. Or they can fine us. And when they start fining, it's by the day, and it could be, I guess, up to $1,000 a day for not being in compliance. So we're right on top of the hard rock, and we've got to do something. So, Ryan, could you kind of explain about the building?
Before you go into Ryan, I think you missed one important point here. And that was, 3 years ago, there was a similar review by DEP. And at that time, they found the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing is they didn't threaten the town to fine us.
They-
So 3 years went by, they did another review, finding the same stuff, and said, listen, you guys haven't done anything to correct the deficiencies we told you about 3 years ago. And that's where this is, that's why I think you missed an important
Yeah,
point here.
yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Also, they added that the chlorine injection, the way we do it, is no good. It has to be upgraded, that part of it, all that part has to be upgraded. And we're right up to, almost right now up to capacity as far as what that 4-inch line can handle. And if we're actually putting in a valve right now, because if we have a fire, the pressure, I think, drops down to what, like 28 pounds?
Yep.
So they
When the
can't even
filter-
fight a fire.
when
We
the
need to
filter's
have this
on.
special valve that flips open so that we can have a full 12-inch line. So before we go spend all this money to put a building over what we have, which when this other new facility comes on, some of these other new facilities, we're not gonna have the capacity through the filtration when the water needs to be filtered through these charcoal filters. So we want to increase that up to at least an 8-inch line and 8-inch filters, which are much larger. And that'll give us a capacity, we feel, down the road, so we're not coming back 5 years from now and saying, or someone isn't coming back 5 years from now saying, we need bigger filters. So therefore, the building is not big enough. So we figure we do this all at one time, we get a better, more bang for our buck.
So
Ryan.
Ryan is, can you identify yourself,
Sure.
and please tell us who you work for.
Ryan Train with Environmental Partners Group. I'll take a step back and maybe fill in some gaps here, because those that haven't heard the whole story. So DEP had mandated back almost 10, 15 years ago to install these filters due to what's called trihalomethanes. It's a byproduct of chlorination that happens to react with organics in drinking water. And it usually happens with surface water supplies, not so much groundwater supplies. It's more organics and surface water just from runoff getting into the reservoir. So as you know, you purchase all your water for Arizona through from Fall River, which has surface water supplies. Those filters were mandated to put them in because the levels, not only the levels coming inbound from Fall River were at any day over the amount that DEP allows, but by the time water is used in the Arizona water system, those trihalomethanes can increase over time that the water is sitting in the pipes. So filters were put in more than likely at a time where it wasn't as stringent as DEP to look over certain things. And DEP has since changed a lot of their requirements for those types of systems, and they've really hammered down on chemical feed safety due to some overfeeds of chemicals that have happened at some treatment plants. They really locked those down about 6 or 8 years ago. So after a couple of reviews by DEP, to kind of echo some of the comments so far, they're really this time looking to make sure that there's an upgrade seriously done at the filtration site to make the site secure, which is to put everything in a building, and make sure that all the chemical feed systems there are compliant with what they call their Chapter 6 requirements, which is interlocks and preventing things from overfeeding. I think the sentiment all along has been, hopefully Fall River can improve their water quality. Hopefully they can get their trihalomethanes lower so that maybe Freetown doesn't have to spend this money. And Fall River has done some improvements, and we have seen those incoming levels lowered to some level, but not enough that by the time water gets all the way to the end of the Arizona system and water is used, we still think that the trihalomethanes are going to be high enough that even if the incoming water from Fall River is under the DEP allowable amount, they still would be over by the time you use it in the sauna. So, at this point in time, with the, I guess being the bearer of the bad news here, with the cost, the water commissioners had asked that we look at the cost to build the facility, and back at, about 4 years ago, we created this water supply alternatives analysis to look at different treatment types to use. At the time, I think we had given a price just to basically enclose the facility just in a very wood structure, and the chairman at the time was planning on doing the work himself or with some of his students. Long story short, it never came to fruition. Last year, you had put $75,000 away, which then turned into an emergency valve to help solve the fire flow capacity issues, which is sort of a short-term fix until those filters can get sized to be large enough to pass the fire flow. So that project is almost ready to kick off. So taking into account the existing use in sauna and the potential future use that Kevin had given us some numbers of, maybe with the usage of some of these industrial uses coming into town, you could see the water usage multiplied by 5 times what you're getting now. Not to mention having the size for those peak summer days where people are using more water than they are, say, on a day like today. So with that, looking at the existing facility, we're estimating that the cost of the facility could be in the order of $2.8 million. And that would be upgrading everything to the 6 or 8 inch pipes that would be able to handle not only fire flow, but also future capacity for the entire area of town.
The problem that we have also right now is that even putting in that valve, which will correct the fire flow problem, if that valve has to energize to provide us with the water to fight the fire in any one of the businesses down on the Assonet side, that water is not going to be treated. That's another issue. So anything that's flowing through that valve, if that valve has to open because we have a situation, that water going to the houses will not be treated under the system because it bypasses the filters because they're too small to provide us with the volume of water we need. And this all started because we had a company move into town that was building a new building, and I think it came before the board because the board was kind enough to put it on the special town meeting warrant. And when they went to do their fire flow, couldn't pass because they weren't having enough water coming through because they were going through 4-inch lines into the filter. That's when we had to get the idea of bypassing the filters automatically if there's a fire. Now, in addition to that, the EP has come back and said, hey, you've had enough time. It's unfortunate because that study, and I've been on the board for 6 years, and Lisa's been on longer, and Bob is new, but that study been out 4 or 5 years. We've never heard this before on the Board of Selectmen. We've never been presented, and you guys are all new. The whole Water Commission is new. We've never been presented with the stuff about the last review by people that were on the water board at the time, and the study here. So this is kind of like, what the heck's going on? But it is what it is. So.
Ryan, quick question.
Yes.
The THMs, now they build as the water stays settled in the pipes, so that the chlorine breaks down and builds the THMs. With the new contract we just signed with Fall River with the bleedings, are we gonna have bleeding schedules to bleed off water to keep water flow through the pipes?
We're gonna put bleeder valves in, yeah.
Is that gonna help the THMs, and will that help?
It'll help.
And if we do increase building in the industrial park area and you have water levels increase, well, that should also help the THM levels, correct?
Yes.
That would mean that we wouldn't have to use the filters as much as we do.
I don't think we used them at all last summer, did we? Did we
Oh,
use them?
yeah.
Oh, yes, that's what we're using. Oh, yeah.
You get more THM in the summer.
Typically, we throw them on, we put them on in May, and they're on till October.
Oh, I thought you tested for them before you put them on.
Oh, we test every month. I test inbound every 2 weeks coming in from Fall River. So, I don't wanna say that the answers to your questions have been oversimplified. yes, does a bleeder work? If in theory we're getting,
If we're getting below levels.
if we're getting compliant water from Fall River.
Right.
If the water is not compliant, or it's close to the limit of 80, no, bleeding doesn't work. I'm just pulling 80 through our system,
Right.
and so,
It only prevents when it comes through below 80 and it sits on our lines and then becomes above 80.
Right.
That's all it prevents.
yeah. We have a less than ideal situation where our high and heavy users, water volume users, are at the beginning of our line. And as you get past the business district, and then it goes through the
Then
four
it
corners,
suffers.
starts to slow down. So that's where we have the greatest growth in THMs. I think it's important to note, because while we're talking a lot of bad things and negative things, it's important to note that we have been in compliance with the THM levels. We're not putting out water that's above THM. While we have a rudimentary chlorination pump system, it's been successful and been working for 10 years. But it needs to be upgraded. It needs to be foolproof rather than having to be worried about all the time, which is important. It needs to have bells and whistles, literally. It needs to have alarms should something happen. It needs to be, somebody needs to be contacted. It needs to be flow paced, so you're not dousing with the chemical at the same rate overnight when there's not a lot of water used than there is when the water is being used at a higher rate. It would increase the dosage. So it's important to note that while we've had all these issues, we're in compliance with all the drinking water standards relative to stuff in the water, things in the water. Where we're out of compliance is, to Ryan's point, about 5-6 years ago, DEP really cracked down on the Chapter 6 stuff, the chemical compliance, and that's where we're.
Yeah, when I reviewed the report, it actually came in, you guys are doing a great job,
Mhm.
except for hazardous material storage, hazardous material dosing, hazardous
Yep.
material, and
Yeah.
specifically the chlorine.
Right. Right now, it's in a plastic shed. It's protected from the elements. The original setup, quite honestly, was all outside, all exposed. Prior board said, hey, might be able to get DEP, we might be able to get them to buy some time, if you will, because these types of things take 6-8 months of planning, financing, the whole 9 yards, by putting it in this plastic shed. So, and again, some of their issues or concerns are allayed because we don't run in the winter time. So there's not a concern of freezing, but the building can't just be a building. It's gotta be climate controlled, heat, humidity, cold, all has to be a unique building, in that the doors or whatever have to be big enough to accommodate the filters so that we can get in there and change out the filter medium, which is granulated, activated charcoal. So it's not just your typical, hey, we need to build a building around these, these blue containers. Again, Ryan made the statement, we want to size this appropriately, and I think the board all said, Brad said, we're going to do it right. I've reached out to potential developers. We've got 2 greenhouses that are in the process. One's fully permitted, hasn't been constructed. The other one is starting the permit process. Additionally, I've been told of 2 more potential greenhouses, tomatoes and lettuce on the Churchill and Banks property. Rough estimates are, if they don't utilize groundwater or surface water on their own site, which they don't know if they can, they could be using 100,000 gallons of water a day. So you figure each one of those, now typically in the summertime, we're only using between 100 and 120,000 gallons of water. I say only, but total for this entire side of town. You add that, to Ryan's point, it's 5 times more. So if we're going to do something, we cannot undersize it. It's just that simple.
We're growing, and our backs are against the wall now with what we have. All the equipment we have now has been exposed to the weather for
10 years.
10 years. It's been outside,
Yeah.
and it's too small, and
There's no security either.
no security,
No.
really, nothing.
No.
And like I say, if we're gonna do it and spend this money, we should only have to do it once,
Ryan, the main line coming down that feeds, that's a 12-inch line.
12-inch line.
So an 8-inch tap into these filters would be sufficient in your,
Yes, yeah, we still would wanna have that bypass valve active.
yes, you want,
Just
just in
to
case, right?
increase the fire capability.
Fire is where we would really need that, because then, once them engines stop pulling on that,
If that 4-inch line is kept, even with the increase in demand that you'd have with a larger user, would really drop the pressure down in the area.
Yeah, there's
So,
no way we could do
right.
it with our system right now.
Right. So it's even if you, so right now, your existing filter site, even if we put the bypass valve in, you're gonna reach a point where you're not gonna be able to allow any more users on the water system, because you're not gonna have the physical ability to pass the water through those filters.
And what makes our industrial area in the southern end of Sonnet so attractive is that easy, quick highway access, we got new off-ramps. We have the utilities there. You have gas, you have the high voltage electric, you have the water, you have the sewer. And it'd be a shame if the town has to start turning businesses away because we can't accommodate on the water side of things.
Brian, the 2.8 million you're estimating, what in all does that include?
Everything soup to nuts, from contingencies, engineering, a brand new building, it's estimated to be about 30 feet by 50 feet, give or take. New pressure vessels, all this equipment to run things remotely, all the new chemical feed systems, heating, electrical work.
Pipe
full
work too?
thing. Pipe work,
Open the
on-site.
ground into the main?
Right. Now, that's at the existing facility. There's been some talk of potentially moving to a site at the beginning near the meter pit to capture those customers that are before the filter site now. So if that is the case and we want to look at it, we probably would have to do a site walk and see what utilities are at the site, the grading, slopes of the site, see if that would add any cost to that. But it may make sense if you are spending that amount of money to look at a site that may be able to capture all your customers in the water system.
Would you do that prior, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I mean, if you're looking for a number for town meeting to go to, or some budget number, I would want to make sure that we go and walk it as soon as we can, if you have a deadline of when you need it number by.
So, all right, let's go back to what he's talking about. A number of years ago, somebody suggested that ISP had a piece of property that they were willing to donate to the town. I think you've contacted them a couple of times, but you still haven't got a
Yeah,
call back.
I talked to him probably 6 months ago, and he at that time said that the person that handles all the properties for ISP wasn't in town and wouldn't be coming back for a couple of months, so he would give me a call. I never got a call, but recently I called probably 5 or 6 times. Finally, today I got his answering machine, and he hasn't called me back yet, but I'll chase him again tomorrow.
That would only allow us to pick up, for all that, any extra we would spend there, we'd only pick up the 6 customers?
We have
6 customers that we presently have filters in their home, and now we've gained access to all these homes so that we can change out these filters. I mean,
Do we have deeded access though?
We have access because it's part of our rules and regulations, and in order, we have legal access, if they are our water customer, to view and or work on the system.
you'd have to weigh the cost, you'd have to give us 2 different figures, and, because I believe we'd have to move that valve that's in the street now that we're just putting in, so.
But the building, if we do, it's a year or 2 before that it all get done.
Right.
But the DEP is not happy with us now getting access to the 6 houses. They want us to put a meter pit or a filter pit out in the highway or on a property
Yeah.
and run special lines to those 6 houses.
I met with him on Friday, Cortland Ridings from DEP, and I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I did tell him that we now have access to all 6 homes. The intent is that we're looking at locating a new filter site that would pick up those homes. I asked to set up a meeting between DEP and this board to see if they can accommodate and allow us to continue to use the in-house filters now that we have access to everyone. And maybe agree to some sort of testing schedule or something that might make them happy in the interim. Their biggest concern was not having access. That's why the suggestion was if we put these, if you will, filter or meter pits out by the road on everybody's service line, then we know we could always have access to it.
Yeah, but one of the reasons why they complained, they had an issue with the access is there was one individual that would not give the town access.
That was my concern, that's why I
But
was
that has
getting
been taken
deeded
care of
access.
because we sent him a letter and told him we're gonna shut off his water. And the next, I think that was on a Thursday, a Monday morning, he was at the office giving us access, okay?
And to
So
be
that's
clear,
been
that's
resolved.
in our rules and regulations. You can't hook up the town water or town sewer in any town, and then say, when an inspector wants to come in, oh no, I can't let you look at it. So, once Chandler sent the letter, sent the rules and regulations to show him that this is, listen, it's a requirement, you have to let us in, he's been accommodating, so.
And it's to their benefit, because
Absolutely.
they have the filters that we pay for.
Yep.
The town puts them in,
Yep.
Kevin puts them in. The other issue, and I think it might have come up at your meeting on Friday, was, didn't they talk about something in the interim? Which I think they're really going over the edge, in my opinion.
Right, and again, this was an informal meeting with Cortland Ryan, okay, understand that he has bosses, just like we all do. And I mentioned it to him, I said, I'm hoping that we can get through and utilize our current, and he said, don't be surprised if my bosses still want you to do something in the meantime, because again, this project here, if we were to say, give it a go at town meeting, it might be a good 18 months, Ryan, from everything soup to nuts, right? So, another year and a half, so possibly another 2 seasons of that existing facility being outside and not being in chapter 6 compliance for the chemical compliance.
And what might that be?
I'm sorry, what?
What might that something be?
Well, if DEP had their way, they'd have us do the whole soup to nuts, build the building, put everything that's supposed to be in there until we get there. I then asked for the opportunity, once we receive his letter or sooner, if our board could meet with DEP to go over that to see. I would invite Ryan, if it's the board's pleasure, so that, and Whitewater, so that we can, maybe we could slide by with, and I hate using terms like slide by, like we're getting away with something, but maybe we can do something to appease them for the next year and a half until we can get this facility built, without going and spending, another $300,000. But,
I mean, that's throwing money away.
I don't
That's
disagree.
throwing taxpayers' money away.
I don't disagree at all. It's a lousy situation to be in, we all thought it was gonna be, another thing to consider too is that site up there was meant to be a temporary site, and I don't mean temporary. That's a site that is, it's a Conservation Commission site, which at the time they allowed, because the water department needed it, and it was, again, supposed to be temporary, we're 10 years on now. And it's a very narrow site, quite honestly, it's a small site. We've explored, and that part of his analysis, EPG's analysis was, can we get our own well? Because we have well water up there. Can we bring a line from New Bedford? And the most cost-effective was to go and do upgrades to our filter site. But to Ryan's point, even if with a couple of these new users coming on board, either we'll be hit hard with daily demands in the summer, and we might not be able to meet them, low pressure, or we'll be going through carbon, 2-3 times a summer.
What it's gonna do is it's gonna force that valve open.
It may, right,
Yeah, in
right.
other words, like it was a fire.
It may.
It's gonna, so now our THMs are gonna be all over the
That
place.
valve's pressure sensitive.
Yeah.
Once you build a drawer, it automatically bypasses.
It automatically bypasses.
And carbon is 10 grand a shot?
10, 11 grand a shot, yeah.
So,
So that's the.
and we don't know what the DEP's gonna say. I mean, they could, we've been able to appease them, for the last part that I've been on the board. But,
Yeah.
and previous to that, but,
We've had every intention to build a building. I mean, but now, like you say, everything is increasing. You have more and more water users and everything now, so it's kinda, it's like a monster that's grown now, so we've gotta do something now.
DEP's been very good to work with recently. Over the last 5 years or so, 6 years, we've had a much better relationship with DEP. But at a certain point in time, I don't blame them for saying, okay, we've cut you the slack this long. Something needs to get done, because they have to report to the EPA, and
Well, I don't blame them at all.
Right.
I don't blame them
Yeah.
after what, if you go back and you look at what.
Sure.
What they've said to us in the past, I mean.
Yep.
They're on
Yeah.
solid
We've got a
ground.
very good relationship with DEP
Yeah.
now, they respect the hell out of out of Environmental Partners and Whitewater, so we've got two of the best, working with us. They appreciate the board's efforts. They appreciate the fact that I went up there and hand-delivered our response to them and took the time to talk to them. Very, very appreciative of that. So we need to work as best we can with them, which is why I think we need to have another face-to-face with them.
Yeah, well, we'll do that
Okay.
anyway. But anyway, that's where we're at. We're at the rock and a hard spot, I guess.
Mr. Healy?
It would appear that if we can gain access to the ISP site, that might be the best decision in terms of location. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think that valve could stay right where it is. What would be the difference? The only thing you wouldn't get, the first 6 houses, you wouldn't get the benefit of but,
No,
The filters, but if we move,
it'd still be going
that
through the
doesn't,
filter.
that doesn't apply.
so I don't think it would affect the valve, would it?
I'd have to look at the site where it is and then identify.
I don't think so, because those lines would still be in the,
We can build it, almost even build it into the existing site,
I
pull
was
the
gonna
valve
say,
out
yeah.
and redo it.
they need to.
I mean, the ISP, that would really be the ideal because it catches everybody.
Yep.
And it's right at the beginning.
And there's available land there, right on the road.
Hopefully.
they
No,
give-
I mean, it's
Not
not
constructed.
built on,
Right,
not
it's just
constructed
wooded.
on, they have no intentions of doing anything on it, it's outside their fenced-in area. I don't wanna speak for ISP, but at the time that we were looking for a well location, they seemed very receptive to donating some other lands. And then this was brought up about that location as a potential for a future filter site, should we have to increase the size, so, Bob, you're gonna talk to them again.
Yep, as soon as
so.
I can get a hold of them.
Yeah. If not, we can call for Wanda, she's the general manager down there,
Yep.
She'll answer you.
yeah.
And then the question becomes, how much is this actually gonna cost at the end of the day? Now, your number is
2.8.
2.8 million.
No, if ISP
It's
doesn't
gonna
give
be
us the
more.
land, it's gonna be more, right? It would be
That 2.8 is on the existing
on the
site.
existing site,
Right,
so.
right, which like Kevin mentioned, it's tight because, we'd have to look at zoning setbacks from property lines, et cetera, but, there
Yeah.
might be some variances we'd have to
I
apply
mean, just
for.
getting the truck in there now, the flatbed in there now, well, Bob, you've been up, it's a tight squeeze, I
Yeah.
mean, it's,
Oh, you mean for the.
but right now,
Change
now
the filters.
the filters out, it's an extremely tight squeeze, thankfully, we're not on the main road anymore, but we used to have to stop
well,
traffic.
we'll have to weigh, the difference between what it would cost us to move it up there and what it would cost to leave it where it is and put in the pits for the houses. I don't understand, if we could put in one master pit up there with a filter in one pit to feed all those houses.
That'd probably be the plan,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
still,
rather than individual pits.
that ISP land is pretty flat and, it wouldn't need a lot of, like, moving a half a hill or
Well,
Yeah.
we have,
ledges or
again,
anything like that.
Well,
We're gonna
we
have
need
to,
to-
we're gonna have to
You
do
guys-
the whole,
But it's
This
all
has
what
to,
if.
we have to know, right?
Yeah,
Before
I don't think
budget time.
anybody, I don't think we can do anything right now because there's still a lot of information that you need to have before we even go any further, because it looks like you might move somewhere else, and if you can get that land, that might be the best ideal situation. But then that would increase the cost if you don't get the land donated, so that there's still like a lot of moving parts, and it's hard to make a decision, especially for you guys, on which way to go when there's still too many moving parts.
I think we
how
ought to.
much time do we have before the town meeting? That's
Well-
another thing, right? That puts us in some sort of a bind.
I mean, this has gotta be, I mean, if you don't wanna do it, we're gonna get fined, that's it. I mean, if we don't get it
Oh, I'm
on the
not
town
telling you
meeting,
that.
if we don't.
You can
tell-
we
You
gotta.
can tell DEP we're not doing it.
No, what I'm saying is, if we don't get it on this annual town
Oh,
meeting,
oh.
Yeah.
then we're
Well,
gonna
the
end up
fact
getting
is,
fined,
and,
that's
and,
all.
and maybe maybe I don't understand the process, but what you're putting on the town meeting would be asking the town permission to borrow up to a sum of money.
We haven't even discussed the
No, but
funding
wouldn't that-
mechanism, any of this, so I think that's like a big elephant in the room right now that nobody really wants to touch.
Right,
Because
well-
is it gonna be through taxation, is it gonna be a debt exclusion, is it gonna go through, just the water enterprise
It can't
fund?
go through the
So there's,
Yeah.
but
No, I understand that, but
But Kevin, those are discussions that the select board needs to talk about
Absolutely.
as well,
But
as
as
the
far
water
as, as
commissioners.
far as a mechanism, we put an article on as a space saver, and we have the discussions of how the funding, we're
Right,
gonna apply for the funding,
Right.
and then,
right.
I mean, if you put an article on for $3 million, and we only use,
well, we wouldn't set an amount now.
or you just would put,
A space saver on for now, we'd figure out the mechanism of how we would do, or what we would do.
Just to point out, make sure the
No,
board's
that
aware,
has to be done before, it has to be on the, has to be on the
DEP
warrant.
has a thing called state revolving fund. You can apply for borrowing through DEP at a 2% interest, sometimes even up to, depending upon the town's median income, you can maybe even get down to 0% interest for 20 or 30 years. And sometimes there actually is some principal forgiveness, so you actually get some of the money for free. You can apply for, the deadline to apply is mid-August for funding for 2018. We worked with the town of Westport, very similar situation with purchase from Fall River. They actually did get SRF approval, but it came through that we figured out something, something else that ended up costing about, what, an eighth of the cost maybe. So it's something to keep an eye on. If that there is a huge application to submit, and there's requirements throughout the project of using minority businesses and a lot of paperwork that goes on, you know, but it does give you that extra funding. It may allow you to borrow for a longer term at a low interest rate, so it may affect the taxpayers a little less.
Where is that information?
It's through the DEP, Mass DEP's
It's an
state
SRF.
state revolving fund.
Ally, what's the deadline for,
That's up to the selectmen.
warrants? Oh, okay.
Well, we had that, schedule, where is that?
You guys got to set the schedule yet.
We haven't set the schedule for articles. have we?
No,
No.
but, okay.
You have to have.
I
the
sent
discussion.
Ally an email a while ago saying, what do you think about this schedule? Do you have that email? I'll look for it.
I guess I'm gonna ask a question on the, as a current board member of the select board is, do we wanna put an article on this year's annual town meeting to address this?
I don't think we have a choice,
Okay.
from what I'm
Right.
understanding.
We don't have a choice.
Right.
Okay,
So that wasn't, that's not what I was saying.
No, I just wanna know,
Yeah,
right?
no, I don't think you have a choice in that.
No, we don't.
We gotta move.
I think that you guys need, can I just say this? I think you
Absolutely.
guys have to have a meeting and decide, you have to get in touch with ISP right away. And hopefully at our next Board of Selectmen's meeting, we'll have more answers. And maybe we can pick up this discussion and you'll have a better direction on which way we're going.
That's gonna be the 20th, the next board meeting.
So you should have enough time, right, 2 weeks from today?
Can we just go down to ISP?
Yeah.
And see this person?
I can walk in there and ask for Eric, sure.
well, I've been calling, let me see if I can get a hold of him tomorrow.
Yeah. Or go down with
Yeah,
Kevin, take a ride down with Kevin.
Eyeball is a much better way to go. Yeah.
Take a ride down with Kevin.
Well, I can, if I could get him, I can find out if he's gonna be there, and then we could go down.
All right, so let's talk about this again in 2 weeks.
And then if they, let's say they give us some positive, like, yeah, we're gonna give you a piece of land, Ryan can then walk the land and come up with
Then the-
some figure, cause it's gonna be different, but
Yeah.
Not
Just
much.
Mostly site clearing
Right.
and.
Can I ask this question? Can Ryan walk the land either way?
Sure, sure.
So we're not waiting for ISP say yet, I mean, simply just go look at the land
Yeah.
and see if it's even an
Would you-
option.
Would you schedule
Well,
it?
it's an option, it's kind of just a big flat field part, so,
Right.
you know, we're pretty good, you know, it's not like we have to move a,
Boulders,
what's his, you asking Ryan a question?
Yeah, just what you schedule it.
I can work it out, I think I can have some time Friday.
I won't be here.
Okay, talk to me tomorrow.
Alright.
We can almost take the
Well, I know he
building
likes to
layout
do it
and lay it on the satellite image of the property with the parcel lines and see how it fits, and then a walk can help determine what we think, but, you know, there's obviously a cost of clearing, so, there you go. So my, that's service.
Look at that, you pulled it right out of the air.
For my next trip.
And if there's one
we
more
have-
need to go with them to
we have the
ISP.
town
no, Steve
accountant
Brook
here,
is
so
down for
next
like
week.
for
Brook does,
funding
yes.
or
Right,
any
Mike.
Is that the one?
Well, I think we need to know what it's gonna cost us
That's
first.
the one that has.
I think
the
Lisa
silk
makes a very good
problem
point.
From the old dump.
Let's find out where we're gonna put it,
I don't know.
and that point we'll have a figure,
Then
then
you'll
we
know
have to have.
exactly
Well,
where
we'll have
you're
a
going.
figure 2/8, what I'm saying is, if it's 2.8 million to do it at where we are now, and we have to move it, then we can figure out, maybe we can figure out what it would cost to put in a filter pit, that pit, to put the filters in for those 6 houses, and weigh the different figures, and
Well, yeah, if we move it, you don't have to put the filter pit in.
I understand, but
That's
suppose
good.
it's almost 4 million to do that, and it's probably,
No, it
Oh, I
won't.
know.
No, I think it's gonna be cheaper to just put the tree plan and clear the land than it would be to I'll constantly be maintaining 2 different filter sites. Not only for operation and maintenance, future costs, but just on actual construction.
It won't, it shouldn't be much difference
I
one
mean,
way or the other.
you saw the vault, to construct the vault, that came in, a simple valve vault is $55,000.
Right.
And now you're talking about a treatment vault, you know, something that may have to be sized even bigger than the valve vault. Could be double, triple the cost. So that cost could be put towards clearing that land.
You're looking at 100,000, 125,000
I'm
to
good.
put that filter, you can keep that.
All right, you guys, are we good?
Yeah,
Bob, you good?
I'm all set.
All right, so
I'm good.
everything rests with the guys that are on the water
Right back in
commission.
your
You know
lap
somebody,
again.
do you?
Huh?
You know somebody
I
on the
go
board?
1, 2, 3, 4 guys.
He forgot himself, 5.
All right,
But we're all set, are we, for now?
yeah,
Yep.
you don't have to leave. Anybody's welcome to stay
No.
and watch the festivities.
They need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, they gotta,
Oh,
you
yeah,
gotta
right.
adjourn, go ahead. Make your motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Nay.
Nice going.
Good thing it's a democracy and the
All
eyes
right.
beat you.
That's 'cause I gotta stay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you get the big bucks.
Yeah.
Huh?
I would say,
8 o'clock?
Yeah, no.
no, 8:30 maybe?
8:30.
Yeah.
Right.
5, or,
Check what.
Good night.
You need
Thanks,
longer?
Ryan.
You longer? Oh my God.
I hope not.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
See you.
See you later, Bal.
Yeah, that's what I
Depends
thought.
on how much we grease the
This,
rest
okay, we're gonna breeze
Well,
through
we
this.
can get done at 7.
7 is the FinCom stuff.
This
Yeah.
comes at 7.
So we got 15 minutes to get through the rest of our agenda. All right, so let's fly.
Babysitting my grandchildren.
FYAA. What?
Yeah.
FYAA. Anybody here from FYAA?
I believe the gentleman with the A's on their shirt.
No, they're not from FYAA. Nobody here from FYAA?
Right.
Come on down, you guys. You're from Aponequid Junior.
Football volunteer, EDFC.
And your names?
My name's Stu Burnham.
John Travelini. Rich Maderas.
So I met with this gentleman the other day at the town hall, and you tell him what happened.
At the meeting with
Yeah,
us.
yeah, what you guys want to do.
Long Pond Fields, the baseball fields, there's 3 baseball fields over there. We want to put up a football field, take one of the fields out, and put a football field in there. And we worked out a thing with baseball, they said no problem, and we pretty much need the town to go in further. I brought some plans to
Yeah, you're in your
the
package.
selectmen.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one, if there's any drawback, I think, I think they got a good plan there and so forth, but the one drawback is that they received a sublease
I know.
from FYAA, and that's why I wish FYAA was here tonight. FYAA has
No authority.
they have no authority to sublease it. So that puts the whole thing in front of us.
Also, that lease needs to be redone because it's Freetown Youth Athletic Association and that is no longer in existence because now it's Freetown Lakeville. Youth
Right,
Athletic.
so that,
So that
actually, that
also
lease
puts
is
another-
null and void.
I would, I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but I would,
I would.
I would wanna say that needs to, yeah. And you're right, Paul, I read over the lease
Yep.
in fine detail today and they have no authority to do so whatsoever,
Yeah,
so.
we read that when we were there, it's
Yeah.
part of the lease, yeah. Which is funny, they didn't, I don't know if new board members, if they just didn't know, or, again, we don't, they seemed like they were,
I know, and they actually wrote a lease to you, didn't they? Didn't they?
We did, I gave you a
Yeah,
copy of our
they
lease,
said-
I gave you a copy of our
They
lease
can't do
and
that.
insurance and all that stuff, so.
They can't do that, so, and I don't know, have they ever paid us $1 a year?
I think it's just a set, you say it, but I don't think
Oh,
it actually.
Oh, it doesn't transfer, all right. I'm just being a wise guy.
I
I
know.
haven't seen the dollar.
Haven't
seen the
Yeah.
dollar,
No, I think it
says
was
the
one of those,
accountant.
just like,
So their 20-year lease is null and void.
Yes.
That's basically what it is.
So is that gonna become an
I don't-
issue
I
for
don't
us? I mean, are they just?
no, I think the concept is awesome. I think that, those fields could use some rehab. I know that you guys are looking at building a structure with viewing and
Yep.
filming and everything else, so I have no issues with that at all. But I certainly think that, these boards are ever changing, just like FYAA is ever changing, and we all need to be on the same page with this, so.
And that's what might have happened with the lease. Maybe the guys who wrote it to us didn't even know about that, know the stipulations in their
Probably
lease.
didn't.
They probably didn't have a copy of it, I don't know, I just, and that's why I kind of went to the town to make sure that everything is okay, it's town land, so.
Can we give them a lease on that property?
We
To
can
use-
do.
To use the
Well,
field? I
If
mean-
we determine that the lease, the current lease is null and void,
Right.
then I guess we'd be back open land, but if it's not null and void, if it's still in effect, that was covered in the original lease when you read the lease,
Right,
so we can't release it to somebody else.
Not if that lease is.
If we can get a legal opinion saying that lease is null and void because they're defunct, then I think we could lease it to whomever we'd like.
And if it's still in existence, they can't sublease it.
no,
Not in
but
that- There's
it-
nothing, no language that speaks to it in this agreement.
Well,
which then
Sublease.
we would also have to talk to, Mark and
Yeah.
get, maybe add a bullet or another
Yeah,
another
get the
paragraph
justification.
in there to say that we would be able to do so.
This Jack Taylor signed as president. I thought Andy was co-president, Andy DiGiamo, so.
Both together now, when it went from Freetown to Lakeville, they kept like one president from like.
Yeah, but I don't think he's even I think he's a Lakeville president, which,
Jack
Right,
is.
so that's what I'm
They-
saying.
how
like,
is he signed a Freetown Youth Athletic
They
Association?
joined.
They
Freetown
joined.
and
It's a combined
Lakeville.
I understand that.
Yeah, so
But the Lakeville president signed for the Freetown, the lease for the town of Freetown,
Yeah, but
right?
that makes the whole original lease null and void. It's a different organization now. And they didn't even notify us,
Yeah,
you know?
I think that, I
we
think
need
we
more.
need to.
We need the
um,
clarification on the lease.
Yeah, send this over to Mark tomorrow to find out
Yeah.
if it's null and void. And then also, if we can add something into that current lease for them to be able to do that. Or I think even if they just leave it up to the Board of Selectmen to sublease or something like that, something in there, because it might not be you next time, it might be somebody else that wants to come. So something that leaves us the ability and the room to make those decisions. I also think that every year, that FYA or whatever that organization is, and you also should have to re-sign,
Yeah,
that
it
they've
should be
reread
like-
the lease and everything else, like a,
We should only, like.
everybody knows.
so
if it
everybody
changes,
knows,
it
right,
changes with
because your
people.
presidents change how often? Every year or
It could,
like every
yes,
2
it could,
years?
it could change, yeah.
So, we can't leave that open-ended like that, so we should have something signed to say like, we read, we agree, we read,
Even if
we
it's just a
acknowledge.
continuation,
Yes.
not necessarily.
No,
re-signing
not
type
It
thing.
re-sign the
should be
lease, but-
renewed every
Renewed.
year.
They should be able to read it and then sign it. They
Yeah,
don't
so
renew it
we
as a
know
lease.
that this won't happen anymore.
Yep.
Because what happened was that when that original lease was enacted, I mean, they gave them a 20-year lease, and that's crazy. 20-year lease, and then all of a sudden things change. One organization's gone, and then you get.
Yep. I mean, it's the same organization, it's just really a name
I
change,
understand,
really.
but
they should have notified that on the lease, it should have been changed on the lease, exactly.
And I don't think it was done maliciously,
No,
I just
no,
think
no.
Yeah,
that
no, they didn't.
it's one of those
Yeah.
things,
Right.
oh, we're leasing for 20 years, we don't have to worry about it, but,
I know their enrollment numbers were down, so
Yeah,
that's
and
one of the
that's
reasons
why
why
they
they
did
wanted to.
you wanna,
Joint, yeah,
you wanna come back
so
on the 20th?
come back on the 21st, on the,
20th.
the 21st, when is it?
March 20th, isn't it? 20th? Yeah, 20th.
14
Okay.
days.
So,
We should have something.
and then we should have something, maybe we can even sign it that night.
Okay.
I would still go along with whatever plans you are for having for the building and
Yeah.
everything else, I don't think any of that's gonna change.
No, and the building inspector was very good about it, he just said, because it's town property, it needs to be signed from somebody, from the board, so.
I don't think anybody sitting here is gonna
Yeah.
object.
No, no.
Do you, now, we were gonna start, I mean, the weather's kind of permitting, but like starting to clean the property up, should we wait until we
No.
get this signed, or we
No,
can go ahead and?
So I
No,
wouldn't do any structural change.
No structural
But
changes, they're not gonna
clean the
build
property.
anything till we get the permits, but, I mean, there's fences that need to be
Yeah,
fixed,
no, that's
you know,
fine.
all
Let the
the,
office know when you're
Sure.
doing that.
we just don't wanna do anything if it's gonna affect anybody, or, we wanna make sure that it's
Right.
okay first, that's all.
yeah, I don't see an issue
No, I
with that.
don't.
So so you're good.
You're good, see you on the 20th.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for seeing us, appreciate it.
All right, next thing to ambulance fee abatement for the month of February in the amount of $26,398.24.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion,
As soon as I get to it, I'll second. At 26,398.24.
yeah, motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next thing, town administrators report.
Very quickly, I sent you, I don't know how many of you saw your email this afternoon. I'll give you another copy if you'd like.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You good? You good?
That's electronic, yep. I read this after.
Last week you approved filing the application for administrative entry and inspection. And I told you I'd draft something up and try and get it to you today. This is it. This is the final draft. I sent it to Brian Noble over at Acushnet. We should be able to get it up together and signed and jointly go down and hand it to the district court clerk, Mr. Thomas, this week. Well, the week is up. Next item. Last year, after the Maya Health Benefits Trust renewal proposal was approved by the Insurance Advisory Board, I signed this document, and we passed that down, Mr. Chairman. I signed this document on behalf of the town. I just wanted to make sure that the board members all knew that it's time to get this in to Jill at Maya. It's been approved by the Insurance Advisory Committee, and if you want to take a vote, authorize me to sign it and send it to Maya. Remember we had.
This is for the retirees, correct?
Yeah.
And
Just the retirees?
Just the retirees,
Yeah.
because theirs renews January, right?
Yeah.
Theirs renews in January of each year.
Yeah.
And the percentage increase was 5.2%, which was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
The least you could have gotten for the whole operation was 4.2, and we ended up with 5.2. So it was very good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll make a motion to authorize JAG to endorse.
Second.
Motion made in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
There you go, Jack.
And
All right.
now,
You're still on, right?
well, just quickly, we need to think about a future meeting with Sean Proventia on the 200 odd acres over here on Chase Road. We've received a proposal from him. They're going to be looking for a grant to effect this, and the town would receive $200,000, but there were certain conditions attached to it, one of which is troublesome.
Yeah, there were a lot of conditions.
And only one of them really is a problem, I think.
The house, removal of the house.
Yeah, cleaning up that site.
Yeah.
That's an unknown quantity, and I think it could be a deal breaker. And I let him know that, you saw that.
But if it's not a deal breaker, you put that property for recreation.
Yes.
And when you put something for recreation, you have no houses built.
Right, exactly, which is net gain. I got two other quick items. One is that the treasurer collector would like to buy a copier. Pass these down, Mr. Chairman. And there's a second letter from Kim, our town accountant. Jessica appears to have enough funding in her budget to pay for this item, so if she feels it's needed, I see no reason not to support it. It's $1,495. She can pay for it out of Robert's 500. acceptable?
Yep, that's fine.
We don't.
No.
I just wanted you to be aware. And finally, Paul asked me to bring up the fact that we have an issue with medical coverage for appointed and elected officials.
It's not better.
I know, when you say that, you know what I'm thinking.
Not better.
Yeah, I know,
Accidental
yeah.
injury.
Accidental injury, yeah.
Because when I first saw the, I was like,
Yeah.
what?
And this, we may need to get town council involved in this discussion. Paul, you want to?
Well, the issue here is that, I'm sure a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of people that, well, we appoint a lot of people to different positions, and we have a lot of elected people that don't get paid. And, you know, they do it for whatever reason they do it, right? But the problem is that if somebody gets hurt, they're on their own, which is unfortunate, because you take the water guys, the water commissioners, okay? I mean, I'm a water commissioner, but that is not the reason I'm bringing it up. I'm using this as an example. Let's take planning board.
We do site visits.
They do site visits. Water commission does site visits. Soil board, Board of Selectmen is on the soil board. Kevin is on the soil board, although he's an employee, but he's not acting at that. And then Maria, you go out, you twist an ankle, you fall, you break a leg. You have no protection by the town, none, which is insanity, and I don't think people really understand that. I know. You probably won't have to hear me after another few weeks.
Insanity.
It's insanity. So I just think that we ought to look into this and see if there's a way around it. I know that in talking to the lady from Maya, there's chapter 152 or something. If the town adopts chapter 152, it does render protection to, not protection for, I mean, it renders some protection to the employee if they get hurt. Not if it makes them an employee, and it gives them some type of protection if they get hurt on town business. What I did find out too was that people that volunteer are covered under the insurance. They're covered for $100,000, according to the lady from Maya, over and above their insurance. If they're volunteering for the town and for some reason, like an elderly person that volunteers here, falls and breaks a hip or something, and they don't have enough coverage under their health insurance, then the town's policy will pick up to $100,000, which to me
But
is
appointed people, wasn't there like 25,000 something in our policy? It was
Yeah, but it doesn't.
they have to go through their policy first and maybe hits our liability insurance for 25,000, up to
Right.
25,000 there.
Right.
Can we do a rider on our
I don't
insurance
know.
through
Yeah,
Maya?
I think we ought to. I'd like to have Jack talk.
I mean, that's
to
kind of
them
what
about this.
I think we should be looking at, some kind of rider for.
Yeah, because I don't think, I mean, like you guys go out and do, planning board goes out, right? I mean, that's crazy, you know? So can we authorize Jack to look into this?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. All right, you got one other thing? Or is this
I think
mine?
that's it.
Okay, how about this? Oh, that is, this is submitted by who? By Jack Healy, Jack, that's yours.
This is the transfer, can you vote on that already?
No, we didn't vote on this yet. This is,
It's next in,
next on the agenda. A request, the amount of requested is $4,303.81 for legal bills for fiscal year 17. We've exhausted the fiscal year 17 budget.
Make a motion to move to the finance committee for approval.
second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so it's okay if I sign this to send it on?
Yeah.
Mhm.
This evening.
Today is 3/6. And I see that the chairman of the finance committee is here. Forward to FinCom. There you go, George.
How are you, George?
All right, next thing on the agenda, we
How was your
consider that,
vacation?
is our town administrator has notified the town about a month ago maybe?
Yeah.
Notified the Board of Selectmen that his last day is gonna be June 22nd. His contract actually ends June 30th. He notified us in accordance with his contract, so it takes a while to
Yeah.
advertise and go through the process of interviewing prospective administrators. I'd like to see if the board would like to get an announcement out in the Beacon for a town administrator.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to make a motion?
Yeah, let's make it.
Making a motion that we advertise in the Beacon.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, the way I prepared it, wait.
Just,
You got a better copy right here, Lisa.
oh no, I got it, I can see it. I'm old, not that old yet.
You notice I have to print my stuff.
It's
on
in the
this.
zoning bylaws, what our requirements.
Yeah,
are.
it's in the.
Yeah, I'm not
it's in
worried
the
about that,
bylaws.
I'm just, we're not putting the bylaw in, we're just putting that top paragraph.
Well, that'll
in.
be available for anybody that, you put the top paragraph in, but when they.
You can
they-
say
yeah,
see bylaw or whatever,
right.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Alright,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, cause that would be too many words.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, you require a master's degree. It's part of the Bible.
Yeah.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
motion made and second, all in favor?
Alright.
Aye. All right. Now where are we? Discuss letter from the school committee. I think at the last meeting or the meeting before, we had a letter regarding 200,000 or something, 260,000, 63,000. They wanted to take out of E&D. We got another letter that they want to take 65,528 out of E&D. So they give it to us, the letter, because we can let it go and they can do it if we wait 45 days without taking an action, or we can put it in front of the voters. To put it in front of the voters, that means that it would have to go on the ballot for this annual election, which is kind of only not even a month away, so. Are we gonna let this one go through?
Yeah, I'm not taking a vote on it.
What's it for?
No, it says, in accordance with Department of Elementary,
There you
it says, to approve 65,528 from E&D to cover additional costs within the fiscal year 17
Yeah,
budget.
but we don't know exactly what it was for.
No, they had a budget overrun. Wanna let it go?
It's 65,000.
All right, so we'll
No
take
vote.
no action.
No action.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, school budget. Do you wanna talk about the school budget now, or wait until we
No,
go
we'll
to
wait
December?
until we go on
All
seven.
right, we'll
We're
go to
already past
December.
7,
Yeah.
so.
All right, next thing, discussion on approval agreement for owners, project manager services with Pomeroy Associates. Is there a motion to sign that agreement?
I'll make a motion to sign.
Do we have a clean
Yes.
agreement?
Yes, with the right.
Because I can leave and have John Pottery come and
With the
take my
right
place
selectman's
if it-
name.
As long as it's a fat ball guy, I guess we're all the same. Second the motion to endorse.
All right, motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Letter sent by the COA regarding the brown bag program. Well, let's take that up we gotta run through this. You wanna take that up at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Hold it over
All
here.
right. Let's take that up under the next meeting. Ally, can you make sure that goes off for the next meeting? All right. And what else is next? Approved Board of Selectmen minutes from the meeting of January 9th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, personnel, wait a minute. Board of Health,
I actually have stuff, but it won't be. for
he
this
does
one.
have stuff, go
Won't be
ahead.
for this one.
No?
No, we're already past it.
All right, how about the Personnel Board?
Just, we got a letter, from, I don't have it in front of me.
Pam Susan. I don't have the letter, hold on.
I don't have the letter. Oh, yeah, I do. So she's gonna just resign as shop steward as of February 17th. It's already gone by. I think we all got the email, so we just have to have a letter to accept that resignation.
Make a motion to send a letter. No, we don't need to send a
No,
letter.
we just accept it.
Just accept it.
Make a motion to accept.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's done. Upcoming meetings. next Board of Selectmen meeting is May 20th, March 20th, my last one. You notice the smile on my face? Not that I dislike being with my two friends here, I have enjoyed it immensely.
Aw.
And
Even in the rough and rough of times,
He wasn't in the rough, was he?
no.
was I in the gruff though? All right,
You
so,
always leave in a better mood.
yes, I do, I never hold a grudge.
Nope.
All right, we got an executive session, but we'll wait until after we go.
We'll do the FinCom first and
FinCom
then we'll,
finish.
yeah.
Okay, all right, so the next thing on the agenda is to go over proposed budgets.
Okay.
Anybody here from the finance committee?
Did you sign these?
Are they opening?
Chairman, I think you can take a highway.
We're gonna do that in the executive session, right?
Yes, has to be done in executive.
Oh, we can't talk about it. I don't know what we talk about until we do that in executive session. So we'll have to hold on. The highway guys are gonna be last. I just wanna let you know, you're gonna have to be last for the budget because we're gonna have to go into executive session.
No, we can, because we're not making a final vote on the highway department budget tonight.
Yeah, but you can't talk about that particular additional cost.
Right, we can always add that after.
But it's already in there. It's already in there.
And we just want to last week to discuss it, come back in open session, finish.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. So, if you wanna go get yourself a cup of coffee, feel free.
I was gonna watch the show.
You ready to watch the show? That's what I say. All right. So, what do we have tonight on, we have police, highway, and library. So, rather than hold library up, let's do library first unless the Board of Finance has an objects to it. You guys wanna open your meeting or have you open your meeting?
No, we haven't opened it.
Go ahead, open your meeting.
Okay.
Need that so I can get to George. This one.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll
Gosh,
give
you're
it-
so tan.
Can't give you.
We're in the sun.
Transfer them. You gonna open your meeting, George?
Yeah. Meeting now open.
You need a motion?
Take a vote?
You
Oh,
gotta make a-
okay. Do I have a motion?
Anybody?
Make the motion, if that's what you want, sure. Go for it.
Second.
Do you guys wanna come up to the table, or are you all right? Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
All right,
The meeting's open.
okay, first, so that we don't hold these lovely ladies up, the library, go over their budget.
Okay, to begin with, we had to revise our budget from our last meeting, so the budget has been revised. I've got.
So this is different than what we have here.
Just the personnel and the bottom line.
That, would you give a copy to our
Fine, and
town accountant back
yes, I
there?
will.
Bob, do you have one of these?
Not yet.
I don't, yeah.
Lisa, Bob needs one, Lisa needs one. Jack, do you have one of these?
No, I don't.
Jack needs one? Okay, so then you guys can explain what you're doing.
Thank you.
Just tell us who you are for the cameras.
I'm Dorothy Stanley Ballard, Library Director.
Lucille Rose, the library trustee.
You're the chairman, right? of the-
Yeah, Lucille, right now. Good thing, sorry you
Okay, to begin with, I've never come, this is my 10th year, and I've never come forward with such a large request.
You can take it back.
I'd like to. The reason being is that Miss Pitsley hours got upgraded from 20 hours a week to 30 hours a week, which was a $9,500 increase in the budget. And we're still needing that fourth person. We need a fourth body. And that increases it as well. It went from originally, it went from one, you have the original anyways, and,
It's 132.64.
mhm. And you have it. No, it's 137,
You're talking about the total,
yes, the total.
okay.
Salaries went from $55 to $66,821. Everything else stayed the same except the salaries.
Where's that on this sheet here? 55,
66, that's a new reflected amount.
okay, that's total
So-
salaries?
Mhm. That's for the, not mine, it's the librarians.
Explain though to the board why you need the extra person.
When I started in 2007, we had full bodies. And then we had to make a cutback because the town was hurting financially.
In 2007, you said?
Yeah, so 2009, we lost what we consider a full-time person, which is 20 hours. So we've been running short with 3 people from 2009 until 6 months ago. And we run 2 libraries. It was very difficult to run with 2 librarians and 1 director. That other body is needed to cover sick time, to cover vacation times, or just to be there to help out. So that, we really need that extra body.
So how many hours were you said you have 2 librarians and the director? 20 hours, 20 hours?
20.
Okay, so that's 60
That
hours.
case is up to 30 now.
That's because you had requested another position,
Yeah.
because you needed additional hours.
Right, but the hours, Casey's hours didn't solve the problem of the position, vacant position. I mean, Casey's out, who's gonna cover for we don't have enough body to cover for Casey.
We were looking in addition for
Well,
the.
other people are out too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So when somebody's out, you have to run short-handed. We do that all the time in the town hall. You know,
Yeah, but
But what are you looking for? You're looking for
We
another
need
20
another-
hours?
Another
15.
body,
15.
Another 15 hours?
Yeah.
And what does that do to opening the libraries?
We already started opening the Assonet on Wednesdays from 3 to 7. So we're, between both libraries, we're open every day in the week except for Sundays. And I just looked in the other areas and they're not. Berkeley is closed on Mondays, and Lakeville, I think, is closed on Fridays. But we're open every day except for
So
Sunday.
you work what, Assonet is open on Monday,
Assonett's open 3 to 7 on Monday.
and then,
Freetown's open 10 to 7 on Tuesday. Assonet's open 3 to 7 on Wednesday. Freetown 10 to 7 on Friday, Thursday. Assonet, 1 to 5 on Friday, and Assonet 10 to 12 on Saturday, and Freetown 1 to 3 on Saturday.
so if we gave you an additional, we gave you an additional 10 hours, right? If we gave you another 10 hours, would that,
The 10 hours, we could do it with 10 instead of 15.
yeah, but no, what I'm saying is there somebody else that works in your,
No, they don't,
they
that
don't,
wouldn't solve it, we need a.
because they don't wanna work more than
Right.
what they're working?
Yeah.
That's the issue then, huh?
Right, because it was offered.
It was offered
to-
to split it.
Okay.
Mm.
And
They didn't want
and
it.
the other person doesn't want it?
Yeah.
No,
All right,
No.
so you.
But you can do it with 10 hours instead of 15.
I can.
I'd rather see the 10 hours
And
instead of
also,
going
we
up to
can see
the.
how that person works out.
Exactly.
We started, Denise was with 10, and she worked out wonderful, so I request 5 additional for her.
Right.
But she's got a full-time job.
I agree, let's cut back to the 10
Go
hours.
with 10 and see how it
And
works from
see
there.
how
I think that would be fine
All right.
with me, okay?
that would be wonderful.
And,
So you're gonna
Kim, will-
We can
revise
adjust
this again?
Yes.
oh, Kim, will you make the revision, or you want them
Well,
to
they
do it?
can
They
submit
do
a
it?
revised budget. One thing that has to change, Dorothy, you're due for your
Yep.
10-year increase.
Yes,
So you need to increase the amount of your
I was
salary
cheating myself.
line item. Because yours
We
should
looked at
come
that
out
right away.
to 31,805.
Okay.
because you're going to get an increase for 10 years in December. And you need to increase the
Longevity?
longevity,
Okay.
and Casey's eligible for longevity for 5 years. So the
And
one,
she's not, she's got 3 years in. I can tell you more tomorrow, because I get exactly when she started, April Fool's Day, I know that.
oh yeah. But we'll be in 2018 when
Right.
we do the budget, so that will be
Next year's
5
budget.
years. So she's due
Should I
for
put it in
longevity.
This year's budget or
It's
next
for
year?
18.
It's
Okay.
the one that
Yeah.
you're preparing now, it's
Okay.
18.
Yeah, so longevity should come out to 1,700, not the 1,600.
We're gonna have to review this again. once
Yeah.
you get- Okay,
This needs to be cleaned up.
yep, agreed.
I didn't know about my raise. In fact, honestly, we had planned on asking for a raise, didn't
You said you wanted to,
Yeah.
yep.
So-
But when I talked to Ally and Kim had already put it in, because you were already due for it.
Well, and that's just based on the bylaw chart that's in place.
Right.
If the Board of Selectmen choose to change that chart, it will
Then-
change that
Then it
again.
has to go up again.
Right, but
That's
we
up
haven't
to
even
them.
talked
No,
about that,
no.
so. But you're all set now.
Okay.
Can you
Okay.
just make sure she gets a
I will.
updated copy?
I will. So how much is Casey's longevity got when she doesn't get it this, she gets it next year?
600?
600. So that would make the longevity more than 17, because after you get the 1,000.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's 600 plus the 17, because you get another $100.
23.
$100. Sorry,
I
23.
got good news.
2,200.
Okay.
All right, are we good?
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're gonna review it again.
We have to review it.
Once the numbers come in, okay.
All right, thank you very much.
You guys have any questions?
Because they're gonna have to update this and bring it in.
She knows I'm on it tomorrow.
Yeah, if you
That's
want to
good.
come by tomorrow, I can-
She'll be there.
okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. See,
Thanks, Lisa.
I see,
10 hours is great.
Yeah, I think 10 is better. Thank you.
I see the, Freetown Police Department's here. Come right up, guys.
How you doing?
Dalton, all these years, you never brought reinforcements with you. You know?
It's true.
You just have kind
Carlton, can't you just answer the questions? Do not give us all this paper.
Left it.
Yeah, now you got a son-in-law, right?
You wore a lot of sunscreen.
I didn't go on that, hit under the cabana with,
George went all out there.
Under the cabana drinking, RC Cola, right?
that's right. That's what you do when you're retired, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Police department. We got anything you guys wanna talk about for the police department? We're just gonna say they're okay? Where's the police guys? Police.
So I submitted the budget and I highlighted the particular areas where there were increases, and I provided the backup documentation for each of those sections. As we go down the list, at the top of the list is the police chief's salary, and the documentation is provided to show you what that salary is, and that's derived from the particular contract between myself and the town. So you should have the materials for that. The next particular element that there was an increase is the wages for the police officers. And as you know, that recently a CBA was entered into, and as a result of that CBA, there were increases. I've appended the supporting documentation, and that includes every single officer's salary, so that you can see how I arrived at the figure.
There is also another element, as I recall, on, I think it was IMC, which is the record management system we use. I think there's an increase of approximately $900 on that particular line item. And I also appended the materials I received from IMC indicating what the cost of that was.
Yeah, 904.
The rest of the elements, I believe, in the budget remain static. That is, they're the same as the previous fiscal year.
Can you talk about that $4,000?
Oh, okay, that's a,
Oh, okay.
He was waiting to see if
Yeah.
we saw it, you know?
Oh, I'm on it.
all right. So, we have with us tonight Officer Long. And Officer Long did a great deal of research on establishing a K-9 unit. And a K-9 is really a tool that a police department can use. And he's going to provide information via a PowerPoint for all of you people to enjoy. But when you have a K-9 handler, you have to comply with the Fair Labor Standards Act. And in order to comply with the Fair Labor Standards Act, we have to look at the time spent by the handler for feeding the dog, grooming the dog, cleaning a kennel, cleaning the vehicle, etc. And those costs, actually that time amounts to somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes a day. And the court decisions indicate that that is compensable time. So what I did is I took I think I took 20 minutes times 365 days a year. That gives you the total minutes. I converted those to hours. I then multiplied those hours by, I used Officer Long's salary, and that's how I came out with almost $4,000. However, I just would say that, you know, if this program is approved, it may not be Officer Long. I would have to, well, it's my intent to make an announcement and seek people that are interested in the program, which obviously would include Officer Long, and then a decision would have to be made. So that's how I came up with the approximately $4,000.
So talk about the matching funds. Is this it's a
Oh,
grant that you're
It
applying
is,
for?
and with your permission, we'll have him talk about that and some of the other
Absolutely.
components.
Can you take happy pills before you
He knows there's only 2 left.
All I know is that I only have one more meeting
One more
after
left.
tonight.
Tony, you want the lights up?
I don't know, I think it should be.
But actually, Lisa, I'm happy because I hadn't seen the 20. Made my day.
Yeah.
Even Ally back there.
Can you turn this on?
Gee, that's Officer Long.
He does have a dog, yes.
Did you bring it in?
And to answer your question, that is my dog Moose.
There you go.
That's Moose?
He's a 6-year-old German Shepherd that I did train to be used for tracking. I'm a big hunter, avid hunter, so I taught him how to train, taught him how to track deer. So tonight, like the chief said, I'm going to talk about the operational aspect of a K-9 unit, what a K-9 is, how it's going to benefit us as a police department in the town, and obviously the associated costs. As far as the administration and stuff, I'll leave that for the chief. One of the big misconceptions of a K-9 is that it's a attack dog. And that back in the day, that's exactly what they were. Training has come a long way since then, and they are no longer aggressive. You know, they're not always out to bite people. There are plenty of K-9s in the area that are used for public demonstrations. They go into the schools and play with the kids. They, you know, they track missing kids, elderly, and it's not, obviously, you're not trying to bite somebody like that. They're trained to do what we need it to do. So, like I said, K9 is a highly trained, obedient, and intelligent, loyal service dog. They are a practical and cost-effective tool. Like I said, I'll get into the costs and everything with it, and most importantly, the cost-saving aspect of it. They're used for tracking, searching, detecting articles, evidence, whatever we were to get it trained in, whether it be narcotics, firearms, explosives, cadavers, what have you. Obviously, crime prevention. Just the fact of driving around a marked cruiser that says K9 unit on the side is a huge preventative tool. Like I said, public relations, doing the Touch a Truck events, FYA stuff, everything that we do is an association as well that we can do demonstrations for. And then obviously apprehension of dangerous criminals. Just last night, Fall River had a pursuit out of the city for an armed robbery suspect that our eve shift deployed stop sticks, ended up in a foot pursuit with, and they called for canines, and we had to wait almost 40 minutes for a canine to show up. This stuff does happen in Freetown. Now, we've come a long way since the small town that even I grew up in, growing up here. Training is defined by the U.S. Police Canine Association and the North American Police Work Dog Association. If you go through the handouts, you can see all the tests that they go through and how intricate the patrol school actually is. So there are three major types of canines. The patrol dog is the working dog that does the patrol functions. It does the tracking, it does aggression, does bite work, and they do the apprehension, the fun stuff, if you will. The detector dogs do, like I said before, they can detect narcotics, firearms, explosives, whatever it can learn. It can be trained for. It can do. They even have computer chip dogs now. The state police use. The patrol dogs are most commonly German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois, whereas detector dogs are Labradors. A dual-purpose dog, which is what we would look for, since we'd only have one dog, we needed to do everything. It is the most common, so it does the patrol work, does the tracking, does all that in addition to detection. So like I said, if the dog can learn to do firearms and narcotics and whatever else, then just keep hammering away with certifications to get it to be able to do everything that we need. The selection of the dog, these aren't obviously pet store dogs. These are bred to be working dogs. They are bred by working dogs to be working dogs. They try to avoid any history of inherited medical problems. Obviously, just like any living animal, it's hard to always know. And like I said with training, they train them now at an early stage, just like you would a regular pet. Socialization, obedience. They get the ball rolling earlier instead of waiting until it's of age to learn all these skills and having it bite people. So it knows when to work and when not to work. The basic police canine school begins where the dog is at between 5 to 6 months and 2 years of age. That's what they consider the education range where you can mold it to do what you want. Obviously my Shepherd's 6 years old, and as my girlfriend will tell you, he's very grumpy and he does what he wants now. Patrol school lasts 10 to 12 weeks depending on the agency. But that's just the official training. The training does not stop with these dogs. It is 24 hours a day, every single day. Like I said, training programs were established by the USPCA. Around here, the most common schools, and especially if we get this grant, are Boston PD, Mass State Police, and the Berkshire County Sheriff's Department. Obviously, we would be looking into the first two, as opposed to going to the Berkshires. Specialty training begins 8 to 9 months after it's already been certified in patrol work. That's to make sure the dog can work on its own, the handler and the dog work together well, and the dog can still learn more things. There have been issues in the past where the dogs are afraid of stairs or water, that type of stuff, obviously those dogs aren't suitable for police work. If that's the case, the breeders will essentially exchange for a new dog. Usually all of issues with the dogs are figured out within the first couple of weeks of the patrol school, so that way 8 to 9 months or 2 years down the road you don't run into this issue after you've already wasted all this time and money. And like I said, the ongoing training never stops. If it tracks, you do nose work every day. Handlers are setting up fake tracks out in the woods or even through your living room just to get the dog moving, so it's always working on these skills. And just like anything in this field, there is monthly and yearly in-service and recertification. These agencies don't tell you when you're getting certified, and that's to make sure everybody is staying up on their certifications and their skills. You show up for your monthly in-service, and they say, Freetown PD, you're up today. And you just go get recertified, and that's something that you have to keep up with. A couple of quick case studies here. Like I said, the cost effectiveness of this is that in 2003, Spokane, Washington PD was making the case to keep their canine program alive. A lot of administrators said it wasn't being used enough and it was a waste of money. So they found that a single canine team can complete a building search 7 times faster than a team of 4 officers, and they had a 93% detection success rate, as opposed to 59% by the officers. And that was 4 of them as opposed to 1 canine and 1 officer. 2011, the New Hampshire Working Dog Association, which is run by the state police up in New Hampshire, is that a search of a 1 square mile area takes 3.5 hours, effectively. That was completed with 3 canines as opposed to 88 humans to get the same results. So they estimated their cost of a canine team is $200 as opposed to well over $6,000 to count for the officers. This is also 2011 salary rates, so obviously that has gone up now. This is the most well-planned and beneficial case studies in Lansing, Michigan. They found that apprehending suspects, the humans had a 59% success rate while canines had 94%. So similar statistics as opposed to the Spokane, Washington. They ran 4 buildings. You can see with the canines, 100%, 100%, 82%, and 100%. So they found just about everybody they were looking for. Where 28% by humans, 83%, 45%, only 1 building they found everything and everybody that they were looking for. So not, like I said, this is cost effective, it's time effective, and as we all know, a lot of our incidents are, time is of the essence, especially when we're looking for missing people in this type of weather. They may be out in the woods or what have you. So what makes a canine different is they have a better sense of smell, and better is a very loose word. They have a phenomenal sense of smell and their ability to distinguish odors. So they have 220 million scent receptors as opposed to our 5 million, which makes them better at detecting human scent, articles, evidence, whatever we have. They have a better night vision and their ability to detect movement. In your handouts, I went a little in-depth on it as far as how the eyes work for them, but I'm not going to get into that. And obviously, they can distinguish frequencies a lot better than we can, especially German Shepherds with the huge ears. So in Freetown, like I said, this is, we have come a long way from being the small town that we used to be. In 2006, we finished out the year with 9,260 calls for service or officer-initiated incidents. In 2010, we finished at 14,000, over 14,000. And last fiscal year, we finished at 16,000. I believe this year, we finished at about 17, almost 18,000 incidents or calls for services. I included in there, in that packet, the Uniform Crime Report by the FBI. You can really see the breakdown of how busy and all these calls that we actually go on now. We had 71 reported assaults, 73 breaking and enterings that included residences, businesses, motor vehicles. This is just last fiscal year alone. 113 larcenies, 96 disturbances, 47 mental health issues, 4 missing persons, 26 drug-related incidents, 323 felonies and 399 physical arrests. I'm not going to go through all these. This is just a visual of since 2013, and I picked those years because that's how long our grant would be. It was, 5 years or so of all of our major incidents. And like I just said, last night isn't on here because obviously it happened last night with the armed robbery. But just this year alone, we already had a robbery at Grandpa's convenience store. That was an armed robbery. The famous house party on Leonard Ave. Another armed robbery on Juniors in 2015. A drive-by shooting in 2015. It's just the list goes on. And actually, in that packet, I broke down every single call we have ever called for a canine from 2011 to 2016. So these are updated. We had 95 total call-outs, including last night. Most frequent call-out was breaking and enterings. You can see the breakdown between the midnight shift, the day shift, and our eve shift. They're all pretty much the same. This is over that course of 5 years that we use the dog just about equally on every shift. Every single time we called for a canine had to come from an outside agency, obviously. 79 times out of 95 we called for the state police. Of those 95 call-outs, 21 of them were either canceled while they were en route because they were coming from too far, and you can see the longest response time that we waited for a canine was 1 hour and 30 minutes from the state police, and that was to serve a warrant. So 21 times we did not get a dog when we needed one out of the 95 call-outs that we had. And the fastest response time was by the state police and the sheriff's office in Bristol was 10 minutes. Our average response time was about 24 minutes, which, like I said, when time is of the essence, 24 minutes is a very long time. So getting more in depth into the outside agency use and why, if we had one, it would benefit us. The common asset that we use, like I said, is the state police. And they have two sides. They have K-9 East and K-9 West. K-9 East covers from the New Hampshire-Mass line down to the Cape and the Islands. There have been times where we've asked for canines that have been coming from Gloucester, the New Hampshire line, Boston, Brockton, all the big cities that they go hang out in, even where we are. We have Taunton to the north, New Bedford and Fall River on either side. They're always in the cities. Their effectiveness is not, I can't say it's great because it depends on the dog. A larger agency, we never know who we're going to get. So like I said, the different canines for every call-out. The sheriff's office doesn't train their dogs for police work. They are a sheriff's office. They focus on institutional security and the corrections part of it. More importantly, any handler that we have coming from an outside agency doesn't have the local area knowledge, whether it's the people, the land, the streets. We have to tie up one of our other assets, and as we see here, we only have 3 guys on a shift. We have to tie up somebody to go with the handler to be able to help them get out of the woods if they get lost, or wherever it is that they're going. The MSP specifically, like I said, and I focused on them not to attack them or anything, so we use them the most, is that they require their duty office, part of at a Troop D in Middleborough, to be involved in every call out. So if we call for a canine, when their handler shows up, we have to explain to them what we have. They have to relay that information to their superiors, and then they decide whether or not they can deploy the canine. More time we're wasting. So outside assets arrive on scene. They're operating separate from us. They obviously have different channels. We can't talk to the state police, and they can't talk to us. We have to go through our dispatch centers to relay information. Again, time wasted. So how would you use a canine in Freetown? The visibility of the canine on patrol, like I said, just driving around town with a fully marked unit with big red letters as a canine unit is going to be a crime deterring tool in itself. Security for the many soft targets that we have in town, such as the school, the fireworks, the parade, and the Lakeside Festival. That's just to name a few. Obviously, the fireworks is a very soft target where we have thousands of people coming in and out of there. Having a canine at that main entry point on Water Street, visible, again, is a crime deterring tool. Being able to go into the school if, God forbid, there was ever some sort of an incident, and being able to quickly and effectively identify and potentially neutralize a threat with a canine is going to save us a lot of time. And like I said, public demonstrations. I touched on the tracking subjects, the children, elderly, motor vehicle accident operators. It happens all the time, whether they run from a motor vehicle accident or they get thrown into the woods and we have to go find them. It happens all the time, especially on the highways. And then obviously having the 5,200 acre forest in town, we have a lot of hikers and a lot of hunters that get lost out there. And people who just, don't know what they're doing. Next thing I know, it's pitch black out and they don't know where they are. Evidence and property detection, like I said, narcotics, explosive, firearms, that'll all come later down the road after the ball's rolling with this. And criminal apprehension. When I say criminal apprehension, I'm not talking about somebody that robs or shoplifts. This is, like I said, an armed robbery suspect, or somebody that had committed some sort of an assault, a felony. This falls, a canine falls into the use of force that we all know very well. That's drilled into our heads in the academy through the MPTC. The best part about it is that you can fluctuate to move up and down with our continuum. The presence of a dog may be enough to end an incident right there. There's been times where we've gone into houses that someone's been breaking into. We yell in, "We're getting a dog if you don't come out." And they say, "Okay, I'm coming out," because nobody wants to get bit by the dog. So the cost analysis of this, and this chart is in there as well as a couple of budgets that I had thrown in. It can be steep. Be up to $16,000 just to start up a canine unit. The grant that we are applying for is $25,000. That covers the first 3 years. And it covers everything. You can see the dogs are very expensive. They can be up to $10,000 depending on the breeder, depending on how well these dogs are already trained. The training, you donate a bite suit to the facility because they go through so many, obviously. So that's about $1,500 for that. To convert the cruiser, $4,500, give or take, $3,500 in equipment. The vests can be also very expensive, just like our vests that we wear. They do the same thing. They can be up to $2,000. Through that, there's two major programs, Massachusetts Vest a Dog and Vested Interest in Canines, both out of Massachusetts, that donate vests free of charge. Food, vet care, and obviously the in-service training are all factors you have to take into effect. So our estimated costs as a department are the conversion of an existing fleet cruiser, in which case we'd use one of our SUVs, the purchase of the dog, the training, equipment, vet care, food, and grooming. They do not, my figures, again, operations do not figure into the handler salary. That would be, I'm going to defer that to the chief. So the ongoing costs for the first 3 years can be as high as $20,000. That doesn't include call-outs. That's just operational costs. Funding, in addition to the grant, and excluding any funding from the town, obviously solicitation of donations from residents, businesses, organizations, and surrounding police departments, unions. The departments, Lakeville, Rochester, Berkeley, Acushnet, all the towns that we work hand in hand with, we're going to be continuing that with a canine, so obviously we'd solicit hopefully they can help us out.
Can you just back up a slide, Tom?
Yep.
So the cost is $20,000 over 3 years, and the Stanton grant is gonna cover how much of that?
$25,000.
$25,000, okay.
The $20,000 is the cost for 3 years?
For 3 years, correct.
Not each year.
Not each year, no, a total of 3 years.
But the Stanton grant doesn't cover the Fair Labor Standards Act part that you put in. Provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. There's obviously always the potential for veterinarian offices to donate care, checkups, medications, shots, what have you. I have our ACO, Lisa, trying to help us out with that. And then fundraisers and grants like we talked about. Fundraisers is probably the biggest way that other area departments make money off of this stuff. And not make money, but have money. Middleborough PD has a solely fundraiser dependent canine unit. And they're a pretty large town. They take absolutely no money from the town in order to pay their costs. He gets his 5% stipend for being a handler, and that's it. He runs a big fundraiser every year, and he has upwards of 30 to 40,000 in his account. Same thing with Somerset PD. They run a T-shirt drive every year, and with their donations, they just got the Stanton grant 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Their dog has been certified in narcotics detection as well now. I was talking with him at in-service. They exhausted their Stanton Foundation grant of $25,000, and they have $40,000 left over still just from donations and fundraising. So he said, and his direct quote to me was, people will throw money at the dog. They don't like us, but they like the dog. So the Stanton Foundation grant, they have a first and second dog program. Obviously for us, we're focusing on the first dog program. A second dog would be if this dog retires or we wanted to add another one, that opportunity is still there for this same exact path. It's non-competitive. Means that if we meet the criteria, which I've already spoke with them, we do, we get the money. The criteria is that the town must commit to maintain the canine for 5 years. Covers 3, leaves the 3 to 4, covers, you know, the other year and a half, 2 years left over. The grant awards $25,000, like I said, and it's paid in full. The town would have to create a separate account for canine purposes only. That's their only way that they deposit the money, or they give you the check. And you have to keep them updated with what you're doing. In that packet, there's our sample budget that we have to provide to them. You don't have to stick to it, but you just have to show them that you have an idea of what you're going to spend money on. While the handler is in training, they will reimburse up to $1,000 for every week of patrol school. So for us, a 12-week patrol school, $12,000 upon completion. You fax them over a copy of the patrol certificate, and they send you a check for $12,000 that goes right back into that canine account. And then up to $4,000 for every specialty certification, again, upon completion. Send them over a copy of the certification, they send you a $4,000 check, or, you know, whatever you spent in that time. The application process for this can be as little as 3 weeks. However, according to Somerset, they got money in 4 days once they submitted the paperwork. They are itching to start canine programs. That is all this foundation does, is canine welfare. And Massachusetts only, as of right now, for the last fiscal year, there were 19 departments in Massachusetts that all got $25,000 checks to start these programs, and everybody's had good luck. For us, we'd obviously, like I said, use a dual-purpose canine. Patrol and narcotic and/or firearm detection. That would be something we'd reevaluate after, you know, if we got this started after patrol school, we would decide what we wanted to first get it certified in. Its primary ability, or primary function, would be the ability to track lost and missing persons. That obviously includes criminals, but like I mentioned before, the hikers, the elderly, children, it's a very broad umbrella. Safely apprehending dangerous criminals, it keeps us out of harm's way. To be able to send in a dog to effectively apprehend somebody. And when I say apprehend, I mean just that. I meant to touch on it earlier, but I forgot. Like I said, they are not attack dogs like they used to be. That, you know, you see in like the old television clips and stuff like that. When they bite and hold. They don't chomp, they don't tear muscle apart. They bite, they bring somebody down to the ground, and they hold them there until the handler has them release. These are very highly trained dogs. They're not pets. They're service animals. They listen to their handlers. Like I said, the ability to quickly and efficiently search a building or an area, and we have a higher probability of detecting scents and locating articles and evidence. Not having to wait an hour and a half for a canine is huge. Being able to have a canine, whether it's on duty or responding from home, it would be a time-saving measure that's only going to increase our ability to do our jobs. And that's all I have.
Well done.
Thank you.
When the handler goes for training with this dog, how do you cover, you have a mechanism to cover his patrol Fine.
Yes.
Yeah, that is.
The reimbursement of $1,000 per week will cover the replacement cost.
Of somebody coming in?
Yes,
Okay.
so we're already paying the handler his or her compensation. When they're away at training, we're eligible for up to $1,000 a week reimbursement.
Where does the dog stay? When,
The dog would stay with the
with the
handler,
handler?
most likely in a kennel at the handler's home. One of the other things I was concerned about was a potential increase to our insurance. But we've checked with our carrier and there is no increase to our insurance. We're covered right now.
Have you checked with other departments as to what the impact is on, because of callbacks, overtime, and the sort, like Somerset, where they've just started the program, do they see a lot of callback time for the animal?
Well, there
For
would,
the handler, I should
well,
say.
that would be, that would be the case. You would see callback time, but I think that the board and the union could put an agreement together, a side agreement indicating that that would be compensated in terms of comp time rather than overtime dollars. I think that would probably be the most effective way to handle that.
The union would agree to that?
Well, if they don't, then the program wouldn't go forward.
Do you have more than one interested candidate?
I don't know, I haven't made the announcement yet.
I have nothing against Officer Long, just a curiosity.
I haven't made the announcement yet.
What happens if the candidate that you pick doesn't live in town? Is there any liability taking the dog, keeping it at somebody's house in another
That's an
town?
excellent question.
I can actually answer that. No, it is still covered under the town's insurance. It doesn't affect the handler's, homeowner's policy or anything like that. It is essentially it is property of the town, no matter where it goes.
You verified that through,
Yeah, I contacted my insurance agent and verified that.
So the other question is, you train one-handed. What happens, I'm assuming Officer Long has a life, what happens when he's on vacation or he decides to get married, whatever he chooses to do with his life, what happens those
the
times?
handler will have, and the union would have to agree that the handler will have to commit at least 5 years to the canine program. While the handler is on vacation, will either use a local kennel to accommodate the dog while he's on vacation, or he may want to have some family members, etc., that feed and exercise the dog. It's my understanding that many of these dogs have great dispositions, and he was alluding to a public relations aspect, and I think that's a great point. What I would like to do is, if this goes through, is have the elementary kids, school kids, enter into a contest to name the dog, perhaps make the dog a school mascot, get the canine, obviously working with the school system into that school frequently, and I think that's a great PR for the police department. And I know firsthand from attending many events that people just gravitate to police motorcycles and police canines, so.
Chief, can I touch upon the kennel thing?
You may.
There are specific canine kennels in the area, in the state, that's all they do, is they house police dogs. They are trained to handle them. We're not dropping them off at a regular pet kennel. These are, they're trained to handle these dogs and to keep up with their obedience and their skills while the handler is away, which is really the most important part of it. Because they're not going to be randomly.
I was hoping, you just drop him off at doggy daycare.
Right.
Back to him just ready to play and sit in your lap.
Right, exactly. So these handlers at these kennels keep up on skills. So when there's no time lapse. Like I said, this is a 24 hours a day, 365 days a year job. This isn't something where you get home and he said that potential for a kennel. Most handlers have them live in their house. They come home, they're part of the family.
Which brings me to my last question. Do you know if your dog gets along with other dogs?
He does.
I got 4
It's-
dogs, so I got a lot of dog experience, I'm just curious.
It's definitely going to be a challenge to get them to acclimate to each other, especially my dog being the king of the household, so he thinks anyway. But that's, you know, I'm prepared to deal with that if I'm selected for it. So
So these dogs, I mean, they could actually go home, live with the family, live with kids without any.
they all do. I've never heard of a canine that gets left at the station or in a kennel and the handler picks it up on his way to work or anything like that. They're part of the family. They become a pet at home and a tool at work.
So after the 3-year period, what's it gonna cost the town?
What did you have for a figure, Tom? Approximate cost on the town? Well, it would be
20,000 divided by 3?
well, that's just,
Well, there's
but
stop
that, but some of those costs are not repetitive costs, like the gas.
Right. The vest is just like ours. It's it's just about that.
That's all, that's.
So it would be the $4,000 plus about 1,900, but
And you're only covering food and vet bills, really, at that point.
we anticipate that the fundraising will clearly cover those expenses.
You'll have it in that fund.
And we'll have it in that fund. The other thing, obviously with the board's permission, is we could solicit Stop and Shop and Amazon for food and some other articles that would help defray the costs. And I know that the local vets have expressed an interest in assisting us in any.
I'm pretty sure you don't want to feed dog food from Stop and Shop.
Dog food.
No, not the dog food there
So last question, God forbid something happens to you, what happens to the dog?
If it were on a call, if I were to end up being somehow incapacitated, our dispatch center will have a list of emergency call-outs of other handlers in the area. Essentially, you know, this dog isn't going to leave the handler's side, especially if they go down. So the other handlers that come in essentially put on a bite sleeve and let the dog bite them enough to, like I said, they bite and hold, so you can carry them around after they bite you, so they can they'll bring them back to the cruiser and be able to secure them from there. As far as any ongoing stuff, I think that.
So I guess
defer to the
short
chief.
term, if he was sick or injured, that's not a problem. But what about, Tom, that's a real good question. What about long term? Let's say, you had a catastrophic injury and you were gonna be out a year or so. What do we do then?
If it's something I can return to duty, I would say the dog just is on paid leave as well, or what have you, isn't working. If it's something where the handler is not coming back to duty, then unfortunately these dogs can't be retrained to other handlers. So I really don't know.
It would either be up to the handler to adopt the dog, or we would have
Usually they have agreements, the handlers do with the town, that upon completion of the dog's working life, which could be up to 10 years in most cases, especially with a town as opposed to a city that's not running around all over the place. Obviously that wears down on the dogs. That upon completion of the dog's working life, the handler adopts the dog and just takes it, brings it into retirement life for the remainder of its life.
Sorry, don't mean to be morbid.
Can we take any action?
No way.
You want to take action on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea myself. It's up to you guys.
You mean vote on the budget number, or
No,
just?
no, on the dog program.
Doesn't matter, one way or the other, how are you gonna appropriate the funds? You gonna do it through an article, or you gonna do it through one of the meetings?
No, the 4,000 a year, we'd have to do it on his budget.
Put it into his budget?
That's what you did here.
That's what you,
Yeah, that was one of our questions, that was one of our questions.
Is that your question, Paul? Because I'm trying to figure out what your question is.
Well, my question is, I mean, I guess they're looking for us to approve the program.
Well, we can approve the
Contingent
program,
upon
but it would be
the
up to
article.
town meeting to fund it.
Contingent upon
Funding.
funding, and additionally contingent upon the agreement being
Yeah, worked out the way you
between
want
the
it.
selectmen and
The other thing is that I I don't want this $4,000 to be like lost in this budget.
Okay, we could
So I
create
think
a
that it
line
really
item
needs to
on
be,
this,
I think
right?
it does need to be a line item, because if it's not funded at town meeting, that $4,000 is gonna stay in your budget. I just don't want it to,
Yeah, I think we've done that before
Yep.
on sick leave, buyback.
right.
Nothing gets by her. No?
I can go back to my notes from
I
last year and the
know,
year
I know,
before and
I
find
know.
something.
Probably can.
So, I mean, should we at least give them a vote of confidence that we're
To proceed with
interested
the
in?
program?
To proceed with the program, yeah, basically. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be beneficial for the townspeople.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
All right.
Second,
Motion made and seconded to allow them to at least get this in their budget and give them a blessing of the program. Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. As long as the dog doesn't bite any one of us.
We need a special command just for us.
Only during contract negotiations.
You got Seth DeMello,
Okay, yeah, okay.
Ryan.
Well,
What's
I
your
know
last
the rest of
name,
them.
Ryan?
I know the rest of them. I didn't know who he was.
Hi, Ryan.
I know Ryan fellow looks familiar.
Thank you.
All
Recognize
right, that's it, huh? Okay, what do we got next? We got highway.
Thanks,
We gotta go into a quick executive session, and we can go in the back room. We'll go in the back room. That way nobody has to leave. We gotta go in executive session. Is there a motion to go in executive session?
So moved.
second,
Motion made and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Hold the members, Mr. Joes?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Sadik, yes. Okay, into open session after our little jaunt into executive session. And the next thing on the agenda is the highway submission for their budget. Where is the highway people?
He fell asleep.
Fell asleep, okay. I can understand that.
Whatever you want.
All right, let's deny all his requests. He said he can do whatever we want.
Only cut it by 50%.
50% cut?
Whatever. Whatever you give, you get. Remember that.
Whatever you give, you get.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Didn't I just see you a couple minutes
You
ago?
did. As you can see, we kind of followed in line what the selectmen requested with a level funded budget. Figuring in a raise for myself and the union raises that were negotiated, we're submitting a budget $18,214.57, 57 cents less than last year's budget. No changes.
Even with the increases for employees?
Yep, employees and I figured a raise for myself for $18,214.57 under last year's figure.
How'd you do that?
We lost Billy. Billy retired, and his replacement came in at
Less money.
$6 an hour less, and there was an overrun between Billy and Ken. They were there together for a short period of time, so it's pretty straightforward. Operating, as you see, we haven't changed a bit. Be great if you took that $18,000 and put it in my operating budget, but I know that's not gonna happen, so I'm not gonna ask. Pretty straightforward.
Do you know, how your salary compares to,
Oh, I certainly do.
well, I just wanted to make sure that,
Did you, did he ask you to ask that question? I think,
Set that right up.
That was too smooth.
Chuck, you gotta do like Carlton, have a pile of paper.
do you have a handout, or no, you just
No,
wrote
no,
it down?
no, no,
Okay.
no, no.
Go ahead.
Town of Rainham, 93,000. Town of Fairhaven, 89,000. Mattapoisett, 78,000. Rochester, 80,000. Lakeville, 79,000. Berkeley, 70,000. Westport, 70,000.
But some of those, are those just highway,
They are.
or some of them are a mixture of,
Town of Rainham, which I know that job pretty well. Rainham is smaller than us, more population, smaller road. He's just highway. He's 93,000. Barry Denham in Mattapoisett, I talked to this morning. Mattapoisett is way smaller than us. Barry's at 78,000. Jeff Eldridge in Rochester, 80,000. Chris in Lakeville, 79,000. Scott in Berkeley, 70,000. He does, that doesn't include, he gets a stipend for running the transfer station, he gets a stipend for being tree warden, he gets a stipend for being the fire chief. So he makes about $96,000 a year.
But the amount you told us was just for highway?
Yes, that's his salary for highway surveyor.
okay.
Town of Berkeley, 16 square miles and 63 miles of road. Rochester, 33 square miles, 73 miles of road. Rainham, 20 square miles, 90 miles of road. Mattapoisett, 16 square miles, 58 miles of road.
And we are,
What do we have?
We are 36.6 square miles, and we have 107.69 miles of road.
And what are you asking for your pay, so it can go on the record?
I'm asking to go from $64,600.57 to $67,830.
And you'll, with the most miles of roads, you'll still be the lowest paid
By-
highway surveyor in our area.
By,
2,500 bucks.
by what?
About 2,500 bucks.
No,
Well,
on average,
Scott's at 70.
yeah, well, Scott has half the town I have.
No, but the
What
the
were
point
you
was,
saying?
But
the 67,000 will still be.
The average, on average, I'll be $14,000 less than the average
On
for
average.
for southeastern Mass.
Okay.
Okay.
Those towns that I named, none of them have engineers running their departments, other than Lakeville.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Can I ask?
Huh?
Speak.
I want an honest answer. Are you worth it?
No.
You're supposed to say yes.
Yes, John.
No, he had his chance.
I'm certainly not gonna kiss anybody's butt for $3,000. I would like it, I think I earn it. After this past winter, all of you have driven on my roads and you've driven on other towns' roads.
Oh, my God, I
And
can't.
by
So much
far-
better, Chuck. You've done a great job.
I can,
Chuck, there's no comparison. There's no comparison.
My greatest thrill for me is when I have two engineers from neighboring towns call me on a Saturday after that last snowstorm and say, hey, what the heck did you do? That's my feather in my cap.
Did you
And
tell him?
I told,
Yep. Sorry.
I told the gentleman from Lakeville, I said, well, you're the engineer, so why don't, I should be asking you, you shouldn't be asking me. But anyway, that's the budget. We've done what we were asked, and like I said, with losing a senior worker and putting in a junior worker and the overlay, we're coming in 18,000 and change under budget, under last year's budget.
Sounds good, thank you.
you obviously know when to start doing things to get on top of a storm.
Pre-treat.
It's,
Yeah.
no, you don't pre-treat. There's a science to it. That last snowstorm, it was 38 degrees and it was raining.
Yeah.
Every town, every community went out early, and all the material got washed off.
Yeah,
We went out 5 hours after the town of Lakeville, and we nailed it.
that's right. And all those towns missed
Yeah,
it.
Middleborough's-
Middleborough was worse
Yeah.
than I've ever seen
And
it.
it's not that they're
40
bad
years.
people, they don't know what they're doing, it's just,
They didn't hit it right.
you really, it's a science. You
Yeah.
really gotta concentrate.
Yeah, well,
Next day, I drove on clear roads in Freetown, and I crossed into New Bedford. And Acushnet Avenue, all the way down to the end where Trucci's is, it was like they never even touched it.
The Brayley Road part was awful.
Awful. Crazy.
Yes, I mean,
It was horrible going into Dartmouth.
Yeah, you could,
Yes, it was.
you could
As
go
soon as you
anywhere,
got to-
in any direction.
I know, I
Chuck,
agree.
when they ask you if you're worth
I
it,
forgot
this would
about
just
that.
answer yes, right? You didn't really need us to go into a
Right.
roundtable about how awesome the roads are.
Can I ask you that question again? Will you answer it right this
No,
time?
I'll answer it the same way. I'm worth it if the townspeople vote the raise.
There you go.
If they don't vote the raise, so be it.
Thank you.
Chuck, question.
Yes, sir.
If you had another 20,000 per year of materials and stuff, what else could you do to it now you get the manpower?
We could work every day.
Well,
No, without being crass, we are shut down. We spent 75% of our budget in 50% of the year. I'm down to $18,000, I think I have left in operating for the rest of the year, so we are shut down. We aren't doing, we only do what has to be done. We're not taking on any projects that come up. People need signs, anything that I can put off until July, we're putting off until July already. Every salesman that comes in gets turned away, and we got shut down.
yeah, I saw your sign budget was already used up.
Oh, yeah, you know, in the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
we spend almost $16,000 to stripe the roads. I had to put a transmission in one of the dump trucks this year, and associated, I think that's $8,000 that was unexpected.
Yeah, that was.
If I had that $8,000 back, we would be in better shape. You know, we'd be at, $26,000 left. I would feel comfortable moving forward with the rest of the year.
Why can't you get that $8,000 financed from the reserve fund?
Because as I've always been told for the last 12 years, you don't go to the finance committee until you've exhausted all your funds. I've heard it every time something major comes along.
But that was an unexpected expenditure.
It's happened, Paul.
And I guess the point
numerous
I'm trying to make is simple. If you only have 18 grand left now, and you can't do anything because you can't take on any extra project, if you had the 8,000, you just said that you could probably move forward.
Correct.
I mean, that would give the guys work to do.
Well,
instead
no,
of-
the guys have.
'cause we're gonna pay them
No,
anyway.
the guys have work. I mean,
I
we're
understand.
sweeping, we're doing basins.
And you know what, they're
we're-
cleaning basins
we're
too.
doing all
I
that.
see that truck filled every day.
Pretty soon we'll be in lawn mowing season, they'll be
Yeah.
mowing lawns and
But
stuff.
the real issue is,
Can't take
what
them.
had, historically, it's always been, you go to the finance committee and say, hey, I had to put a transmission in the truck, it's $8,000. I get, I'm the chairman, whoever that person was or has
Watch out,
been.
he's sitting right next to you, he's in arm's reach.
Doesn't matter, but whoever that person was or has been, has always said, you still have money in your budget. I said, yes, I do. Well, come see us when you exhaust that money. That's the way it's always been, so that's why we don't go down that road.
But why not continue doing what you need to do and then ask us when you run out of money? How,
Because then you.
why fear the end of this without
the
asking us to
same,
get
the
to this?
same, it's easy to say that now, but if I go out and, hey, I'm gonna stop paving this road, or I go do this, and I come to you in 2 weeks and say, hey, I've exhausted my budget. Oh, I'm the criminal of the century.
And if you don't get it, you're halfway through a
When you're all
project.
done, yeah.
And then what do? I look at it this way. Unfortunately, contracts were settled last year after we negotiated the budgets. Things were added to the contract that weren't planned for. Simple things like bottled water. That's $600 a year that wasn't budgeted for last year. And it's not budgeted for this year, but that's something we have to absorb. Unfortunately, fortunately, depending on, we've kind of played ball for the last 6 years in level funding our budgets. And for whatever reason, Freetown Highway Department isn't susceptible to inflation. We have magic powers. Luckily this year it's worked. The economy, the price of doing business changes every year. Asphalt this year is low. We're paying less for asphalt today than what I paid for it 10 years ago. Next year that may change. So that's kind of kept us in the game. But to answer your question, yeah, obviously, if we had 10 grand more, 15 grand more, yeah, that allows us to do more work.
I'm thinking you just got one or two of your people back too, it would be nice to keep them busy.
Like I said, we're,
Yeah, I know you're keeping them busy, but,
my concern is, like, the weather's
Yeah.
been pretty decent.
yeah,
Every time I send a truck to get a load of coal patch, it's $1,000 to $1,100.
yeah,
That's okay.
but
You know,
it
electricity,
it has to get done, I know.
you know, is $600-700 a month. You know, listen, we're gonna make it. I'm not gonna come begging for X amount of money unless something
I don't think
catastrophic
we want you to
happens.
beg, I think the idea was just to balance it all out, and the only way we can do that, on the fair side, if you flip it to our side, the only insight we get is if you reach the end, we know what really happened. If you never reach the end, then they're just funds that, and that's not against you, that's any department, that's why we've played
Not
level and
to-
even with everybody.
Just to touch base with what's happened in years past, and my own point of view is, you're never rewarded for frugality. You're always, the guy, other departments years ago, they'd go through their budget, they'd run out of money in March, they'd say, hey, I need $20,000 more. Finance committee would give them the $20,000 more. Next year's budget, they were already 20,000 ahead of the game. The guy that, and I learned that from my predecessor, the frugal guy who does what he has to do. If I turned in $10,000 in June, you'd say, oh shit, you don't need that $10,000, they take it away from me. So, we're not stopped. Obviously, if something catastrophic comes up, something that has to be done, we're gonna go forward. And at that point, that's when I'll come back to the finance committee and say, hey, I need this.
Like another transmission or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's hope that doesn't happen.
I agree, but you
You know-
got more than one vehicle, but.
Yeah, we do.
I know.
I mean, we just got one truck back, and it was $1,100 to repair.
Yeah.
You know, and that wasn't foreseen, but it happens. So, I'm happy with the budget we submitted, and I hope
Just
you
raising a
people are
question,
also.
that's all.
All right. We good with Chuck? We got one more thing. Hold up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yep.
We got one more thing. Just a quick discussion, with the, school budget. I think the board has a copy of this sheet I sent out. Does everybody have a copy of this? You guys have a copy of this? Finance committee? I just,
George, I think, ended up on mine somehow.
yeah, I just wanna tell you what I did. After our meeting, yes.
There's about
after
three
our
there
meeting-
for Bob and Paul and
It
everybody.
is, it's, no, that's
Dated from 2/23?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
dated
Oh, no, I don't have
2/23. Well, okay, I know you got it,
Right, thanks.
Alice sent it
Within
out.
the email?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
I'll-
Oh, not in the packet, I thought you had something in the packet.
Yeah, it's in the package.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what I did was I took,
Can I just back up a couple of minutes there? What Chuck was saying is kind of interesting. And I don't know where this policy came from. It wasn't in my previous life here on the finance committee. Is that a policy that we want to continue?
that was a finance committee policy that was voted on apparently by whoever was at a meeting, of the finance committee. It happened a couple of years ago, if I remember correctly, and anybody that was on the finance committee might wanna talk about it.
I'm thinking it was before I was, and I was at the
Okay,
end of my
it was,
fourth year.
somebody, you had a couple of guys that said, we can't pay, we're not gonna give you any transfers unless you're out of money,
Yeah.
and that's how it's been. And every time, we've had instances recently in the last couple of years where we've gone, even us, the selectmen, went to the finance committee, and we were told, sorry, we're not gonna give you any money because we have a policy. So, policies can change, whenever you guys want them to change, you just take another vote. All
Way
right.
back in the day, it used to be for extraordinary expenses, unforeseen circumstances. So that,
That
to
would've
me,
made
would,
sense.
That
would
would've
apply,
qualified,
right?
right.
That would take care of it.
Like
All
your
right,
town
we'll-
hall
we'll
there.
discuss it. I mean, it doesn't sound reasonable to me.
All right, I just wanted to tell you what I did after the meeting we had with, the Lakeville Selectmen. If you remember, if you were here, or if you watched the video, Selectman Powderly, talked about, in his opinion, he would like to give the schools at least 2.5% increase on the operating budget. what he calls the operating budget excludes, the transportation costs and debt service. So, if you have the sheet had Ally send out, on the right-hand side, under the governor's budget, it says governor's budget because I used some of the governor's figures that probably are not gonna be realistic, but they're pretty close to what the school originally asked. And if you look down under Lakeville, in the second box down under Lakeville, where it shows $295,900, 2.51%. That's what Lakeville, if Lakeville gives an operating increase of 2.51%, their overall increase is gonna be 450,000. Freetown's overall increase will be 553,000. So just keep that in mind, because Lakeville actually is driving the bus.
Okay. I'd like to just understand this little box a little better. These are all percentage increases over last year?
Over fiscal year 17.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so,
The one that says 2.5 for Lakeville at 4.89, that's the increase for the operating budget. It excludes transportation and debt service.
now,
When you include transportation and debt service, you move up to the top line,
okay,
which the real figure that we're gonna have to come up with is an increase of 553,000, or 5.82%. Okay.
all right, so, do we have a justification for that? I mean, so, is that kind of an increase, 5.8%?
From the school department?
Yeah. No, that's not what the.
No, the school
school
department is
department
asking more.
They want 9%?
They want 9%.
9.65% on the left-hand side.
No, that's what Lakeville is saying they're gonna give them.
The left side of that is what the school department
That,
wants.
the left side is
Oh,
what the
okay,
school wants.
Okay.
The school's looking for an operational increase of 10%. And an overall budget increase from Freetown of 9.65%. So, just keep that in mind.
What's our total transportation, non-reimbursed transportation
For
for
Freetown?
Freetown? Is it that 398.7, no?
No, 308,033.
Oh,
It's on the
That-
other
oh,
side.
it's on the other side,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the 398.
Well, that would be 398 based on the breakdown of other factors here, I guess. Oh, no, that's because, the figures, I guess the transportation figures, did they change? Yes, I know what it is. If you look at the, chapter 71 transportation reimbursement, under the governor's budget, he's reimbursing less. See, instead of being 14,
Right,
1.4,
1.2.
1.2, that's why it changed on the right side, because I'm using the governor's. Governor is saying he's gonna give less for transportation. And the debt service is staying the same.
Was there any discussion as to justification for
The
10%?
schools want a level service budget.
What does that mean?
It means that they don't wanna change the size of the classrooms. They wanna continue, and what the basic cost is, if you, the superintendent gave a presentation, I don't know, a month and a half ago. Basically, the cost, $883,000 for salary increases based on the current, contract that they had. This is during the third year of the contract. 500 and something because of health insurance costs going up under the current contract. And then there was a couple of other things that made up the difference. But what they're saying is we want to continue serving the children with the same programs and everything else, the same size classrooms. They call that a level service budget. So that's what they're trying to, that's what
But
they're
if you,
doing.
I guess I'm missing the point here somewhere. If they want to level all the services, why is the cost going up?
No, not a level funded budget.
Not
Level service.
service. Because if you're gonna keep level service, if you get 15 teachers, and you wanna keep level services in the class size the same, you have to add the cost of the contractual obligations.
Okay, and that's 10% or close to it?
Close to it. Close to it. He'll have the sheet right in there, there you go. And there was something else, I don't know if anybody caught this, and I asked Ally to send this out to everybody, including the finance committee. I guess, what happened was the superintendent, there's a regional finance committee meeting tomorrow night. And
Tomorrow night, yeah.
I don't know who's going.
I'm going.
You're gonna go?
I'm going, I
And-
know that, but.
I'm going.
All right, and if you look at the first sheet that he sent out, he's comparing other towns and what other towns give for secondary education.
That's your increase.
For example, the change each year, and what I think he's trying to point out here is that under the Freetown Lakeville Regional School System, we give far less over net school spending than Somerset and Berkeley, Dayton, Rehoboth, or Old Rochester. So you might wanna look at that. You guys all got a copy, Ally
Yeah.
sent that out to the phone.
Yeah, I printed that one up.
So I'd keep a watch on that.
They got a whole bunch of numbers and how well they're, what they're looking for and why, and it's just their increases. Major cost increases.
Anything else come before
And
the
it's all
Board of
pretty much
Selectmen?
contract.
I was good, right? I said 8:30.
You said 8:30.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made to adjourn and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everybody.